The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr, New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith and Karen Peterson from Post Wrestling. On today's show, we'll review King of Pro Wrestling 2024 and cover all its news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Chop Tea store, chop-tees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style merchandise. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live right now on patreon.com/KI Strong Style for IWGP and Grade 1 subscribers this week. If you want access to the weekly live stream, ad-free audio, and bonus content, subscribe at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Karen, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's good to see you again. And I guess for now, I'm going to be the young boy Josh Smith because we keep losing him.
Yeah,
we're having a little bit of a snafu this evening, but you know, we've got our health. Life is good. Can't complain too much.
Yeah, young boy's having some audio technical issues we've been trying to figure out, so we're a little bit late here on the stream. So he just jumped off. He's trying to rejoin in a minute. But like I said, we got Karen here. Karen, you're also one of the Florida survivors of Hurricane Milton. Everything work out okay for you guys there?
Yeah, well, here in Orlando, it wasn't so bad. I mean, for me, I didn't lose any power, thankfully, and any power or internet, cell service, everything was fine. The funny thing was that Monday last week, I had jury duty. So we're sitting in the jury hall, and one of the, the folks that runs the whole operation in the morning is explaining everything. And they're like, if you're picked for a jury today, tomorrow when you report, and we're all like, wait. What about the hurricane, madam? She's like, oh, well, if and when that closure gets announced, we'll figure it out after that. We're like, all right. Thankfully, I just read my book for a couple of hours and came back. But yeah, up here, Orlando's a slightly higher elevation than, most of the coastal areas. So flooding, thankfully, wasn't an issue. And, as I said, we were talking off air, everyone's family checked out okay. My parents are safe. My sister who lives near Asheville, her and her family are safe. So again, small blessings. Just lost maybe had a flicker on Friday when they were trying to figure out the power grid, but nothing too scary this time around, thankfully.
Good. And yeah, shout out to, we had a lot of listeners that reached out to us throughout the week, make sure that we were
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, so shout out to all listeners who kind of reached out, and yeah, we're all good. I only lost power for about 30 seconds when the storm was happening, came right back on. Got some damage to my fence, but besides that, no flooding, no other major damage, so definitely feeling blessed for that. And yeah, it's, now it's the post craziness of trying to get gas and traffic lights still being down and all that, the post hurricane craziness.
I mean, I don't want to call it an upswing, but because all the linemen are coming in from out of state and across the country, all the tolls are waived right now. So my commute goes a little faster in the mornings.
Nice.
But again, small blessings. I'm not going to be too worried about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a week. I don't know if you were like watching the tracking as much as I was, but I hadn't lost sleep over a hurricane like this in a very long time.
Yeah, I was refreshing Dennis Phillips on Facebook like every 5 minutes, local Tampa weatherman here, and seeing all the updates. But yeah, I would say this is probably one of the craziest hurricanes I've ever experienced, and I've lived here pretty much my whole life. And man, just the sound of the wind banging up against the fence in the house and stuff was pretty. The garage, like I went out to the garage to get a flashlight just in case, and just hearing the wind like bang up against the garage door was pretty crazy. Yeah, it was a really intense sounding storm.
It's one of those things like when I first moved to Florida when I was 10, it was literally the year after that was Hurricane Andrew, and that like kind of decimated half of South Florida. So ever since then, I've been fortunate that I've never been affected by a hurricane in the sense that many other people have. But this hurricane reminded me how unprepared I am at times and how complacent I've become because we haven't had a very detrimental storm in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like anytime there's a hurricane coming, it's like, we don't worry, it's okay. It's gonna miss Tampa like it always does. And yeah, that was
it usually comes from the East Coast. So you guys usually have time to be like, oh, it'll wear itself out. But this year it's coming from the Gulf instead, which is, I can't remember the last time it's been this frequent.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 30 storms that hit Florida this year.
And working for the university, it's like we there. It's like there's like the Waffle House spectrum of like when like how bad a hurricane is based on how late or if the Waffle House closes. The universities seem to be getting more and more proactive, which is nice. But it's still the waiting game is always a difficult choice because you're trying to work, but you also have to like go home and shutter your house. You have to go to the market, stock up on things that you thought you had, and oh goodness.
Yeah, the mad dash to Publix, and all the bread is gone, all the canned food's gone, all the water's gone.
All that's left is Dasani or Aquafina. Everything else is gone. All the Publix water's gone.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then
it's for those who aren't from Florida, it's very much the running joke that Dasani is usually always left on the shelves. That the people will clear out the beer, the sodas, the bottle, the fizzy waters, everything, but that often gets left on the shelves.
Yeah,
no one wants it that badly.
Yeah, and then like the 2-hour wait in line to get gas has been all over the place, and people siphoning gas. It's been crazy.
I don't know, man. It's just like my parents, like they live nearby me. They're about an hour and change northeast from here, and they always go to Costco and they always stock up. And they're like, "Do you want to come and go to Costco?" I'm like, "Mom, I live alone. I don't need a 48-pack roll of toilet paper. I'll be using it for the next. I live alone." But then it's like suddenly this is like, do I need to buy a generator? Do I need to get a deep freezer and put it in my garage? Do I need to I'm like, I don't. I have a pantry fully stocked, but I'm still like, do I have enough? Yeah. So it's just, but yeah, my biggest concern was, do I have enough dog food? Do I have enough water?
Yeah.
And also for those who have pets, please, this is a PSA, don't drop off your dog at a shelter while you're evacuating, or tie your dog to a pole along the highway, or just abandon your pets. If you have a pets or family, please take your pets with you, because there were some wild things that happened last week. In regards to people just dumping animals, and it made me very, very angry.
Yeah, definitely you saw a lot of the downfall of humanity when this
oh my gosh.
Yeah. But
it just blew my mind.
Yeah. So we're trying to march forward here. I know young boy, he didn't have any damage either. I think he might have lost power but got it back, and the streets by his apartment were really flooded, but I think they're kind of gone down now and seems to be okay. So yeah, hopefully at some point he'll be able to rejoin his stream if he gets his audio and camera and video all working again. But as I say in the wrestling business, the show must go on.
Must go on.
So Karen and I, we will run the ship here and talk about King of Pro Wrestling, which aired this morning, 4 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday, October 14th, from Ryogoku Sumo Hall. We had an attendance of 6,211. So compared to this time last year, they ran Destruction in Ryogoku last year around the same date. It was an attendance of 5,002. So really just looking show to show, they're up there compared to last year, which the main event there was Sonata versus Evil. So, you know, Zack Naito, Sonata Evil, and plus, you know, the King of Pro Wrestling branding is probably a little bit stronger than a Destruction in branding. And then compared to the rest of the year, so they ran the Ryogoku 3 other times this year. So G1 34 finals, 8,056. The semifinals were 5,340. And then Sakura Genesis, 6,632. So right in line, a little bit short of Sakura Genesis, above the semifinals and a little below the finals, but still pretty good attendance here for this show.
Yeah, I think what contributed to the high number for a Monday, because as you are well aware, a gentle listener, typically Mondays is a work day. People don't take off of it. But in Japan, today was a national holiday, which it was Sports Day, which was originally established for the very first Japanese Olympiad when they had the Olympics back in like the 60s. So every year in the fall, part of the celebration of fall is Sports Day, whether it's watching wrestling or schools having like kind of like their outdoor field day or track and field days. So
cool. Well, yeah, I know I feel like there's a lot of like random Monday holidays in Japan.
Yeah,
they usually do big.
They're smart. they try to give people 3-day weekends.
Well, let's jump into the card here. So show opened up. We had Hiromu Takahashi defeating Mystico 8 minutes and 1 second. So we know earlier this year, these guys, they faced off at the Mystico anniversary show in Mexico with Mystico getting the win. Then before that, they wrestled to a draw. So Hiromu was looking to get a win here. And, initially last week on the preview show, we were leaning towards Hiromu at the beginning of our predictions. And then later on, there are so many questions about Mystico challenging Doki and what's going to happen there. And it's so random that Mystico's here that we're kind of shifting. Oh, maybe Mystico is going to win and challenge Doki. But no, we should have stuck with our original prediction. Hiromu got the win here. What do you think about this match, Karen?
Maybe it's been a while since I've seen Mystico wrestle, but I feel like he moved a little bit slower, where it felt like when he would do like a tope or whatever, he wasn't like zipping through the ropes. He's just kind of like floating and then falling.
Yes.
Like he wasn't moving as fast as I remember him moving, but that's okay. It was a nice short, fast match. They were teasing a hair versus mask match. Don't know if that's going to happen or not. I don't know if people would be okay seeing Hiromu lose his hair, because I don't know if they would want to unmask Mystico. But it was a great little warm up for the show. Got the crowd excited because they love Hiromu.
Let's see. We got a young boy. Let's see if he's here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Thanks for holding down the fort, guys. Jeremy, maybe, I don't know if you need to do this in post, but maybe we can level me real quick.
Yeah, I'll try and level you as it's going. But yeah, so we were just talking about Hiromu and Mystico. And so yeah, and Karen was mentioning, Mystico moving a little bit slower than usual, but overall I thought it was a very good opening to the match. They definitely didn't go out and try to have, a classic. There's definitely stuff they held back, and like you mentioned, they did tease the hair versus mask match after Hiromu won. Mystico got up, he pulled on Hiromu's hair, Hiromu pulled on the mask, they shook hands, and kind of seemed like it was happening. Maybe Wrestle Dynasty, but kind of the big thing here in this match, Hiromu using that new kind of figure 4 type cloverleaf maneuver that he busted out on the last tour. He used that to work on Mystico throughout the match, and then got Mystico to submit and got the big win here.
I enjoyed the match. It was fun.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a really good opener. And with it in that kind of time, that's opening match, you weren't expecting them to go out there and have a crazy classic. So I can definitely, it is plausible that they could do this hair versus mask match. You know, Wrestle Dynasty, CMLL is going to be involved in that. So maybe this is kind of the setup for that. Young boy, are you there?
He's muted. Nope.
And he's gone again.
If you wanted me to take your place today, Josh, you should have just said so.
Oh, man. So yeah, Hiromu gets the win there, and they tease a hair versus mask match. So then following that, we had the IWGP Junior Tag Team title match. The Intergalactic Jet Setters, Kevin Knight and Kushida, they defeat the Bullet Club War Dogs of Clark Connors and Darrell Maloney to become the new champions.
You know, it's you know, being a shameless Kushida fangirl, it's always good to see him in a New Japan ring. I am curious to know how frequently he's going to be working in New Japan now that he's one of the champs. I guess him and Kevin are going to be teaming up for Super Junior Tag League in a few weeks. But you know, he also has his commitments with TNA that he does a lot of wrestling over there. But hey, you know, Clark and Maloney, they always serve as a good foil. Of the Bullet Club, the greater Bullet Club family, they are my favorite junior tag team out of all of them.
Young boy, you didn't see this matchup, did you?
Yeah, so full disclosure, I don't know. Does it sound okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. It sounded crazy. I'm having all sorts of insane technical difficulties tonight. I don't know why. Yeah, full disclosure, I did not see the majority of this show. I let Jeremy know ahead of time. I don't want to be that guy who shows up to his own podcast to review pro wrestling shows that he didn't watch. But it was difficult with us having a hurricane all week, and then the show airing this morning before we recorded. It just happened to. It's very rare that they have like a major show on a Monday, you know. So that's the way it all kind of aligned. Going back to work for the first time in over a week after you know, evacuations and floods and crazy shit. So I did see the main event. I saw a little bit of the white belt. I did not see anything else on the show. I am spoiled. I went ahead and, you know, read, so I'm in the loop with you guys about what's going on, but I didn't see any of these matches.
Well, I was while you were away trying to get reset up, is that it's a national holiday in Japan today, which is why they were able to have a show on a Monday. So for us, it was like I was getting ready for work at 5 a.m. as I was, you know, going through my morning routine. I had the TV on in the background, so I completely relate as after, you know, being off work for almost a week due to the hurricane. So don't sweat it; it's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a pretty good matchup here. You're muted, Josh, if you're trying to talk to us. Yeah, so it's a pretty good matchup here. I feel like it's not the best match these two teams have. I feel like there are some of the spots were a little bit off, but overall still a very good matchup. Kevin Knight got the win over the pin on Clark Connors after a jackknife roll up. It was a blind tag. Drilla didn't see the blind tag, which allowed Kevin Knight to kind of steal the pin there, and Kushida and Kevin Knight once again being the junior tag team champions. And so, yeah, this will roll perfectly into Super Junior Tag League, which will be starting at the end of the month. So Jet Setters will be going into that tournament as the champions, and I'm sure the War Dogs will be trying to win the league to get another shot at the Jet Setters. And we did have some questions here on this matchup. So Doc on Discord says, do you guys think the War Dogs go heavyweight?
Personally, I hope not, just because the junior tag division in New Japan is so thin as it is that I'm sure they can wrestle open weight, and I'm sure they could go heavyweight and be successful. It's just that they're doing so well in the junior ranks that I would hate to see them move up to heavyweight and just not do anything, especially when you have Gabe Kidd and eventually Jake Lee when he gets back up from the War Dogs. But yeah, I mean, even with their antics, I'd still rather have them around. They're still my, as I said earlier, they're still my. If I had to pick a Bullet Club junior tag team that I like, they're my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, they're a really good tag team. I do think that there is legs of them in the heavyweight division, but like the one downside, like you mentioned, is that there is so many few teams that they currently have on the roster right now. And so if you remove them from the junior tag division, that kind of hurts that division. But I do think they would fit perfectly into the tag league, the heavyweight tag team, and do World Tag League. So maybe that's an option for them just for that tournament, and they can kind of work both divisions.
I mean, I'm fine with them doing both. It's just that if they have the the wherewithal to go do 2 tournaments back to back.
Yeah.
My question with this whole thing was, it seemed unlikely that they're going to do a title switch here, even though this was probably the one match that had the most like questionable, 50-50 which way is it going to go. And even one of the polls that we did in our Discord kind of reflected that. So it could have gone either way. But my question with all this is, we're going right into the Junior Tag League. Is this just another quick turnaround title win to kind of give to the Jet Setters before they turn around and drop the belts at the end of that tour again? Or is this like a long-term direction where we're seeing these Jet Setters take over the division, and then maybe Bull Club War Dogs team goes heavyweight? I don't know.
I think it also hinges upon what the plans for the Tokyo Dome is, and if the junior tag belts are going to be defended on it, and also what the brackets or the table for Super Junior Tag League looks like. I mean, I would love to see Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita in that mix personally, because I think they both have a lot that they could contribute, because we haven't seen Robbie Eagles in a New Japan ring in a very long time consistently.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it all depends if, I was telling Jeremy off air is that there was a YouTube video on New Japan World's YouTube page that Yo also secretly snuck back into the venue. Well, he didn't sneak back into the venue. He went running into the venue past all the fans and into the ring and cut a really, really very weird promo where he was doing Tanahashi's stick. He did Naito's stick. He did Sonata and Evil. He was just cutting everybody's catchphrases. And then, the ring crew all held up their camera lights like he was Sonata. I don't know what Yo's doing. I don't know who his tag partner is going to be for Super Junior Tag League, but he's been cleared apparently. But he had his own little gorilla stream earlier today.
Yeah, I think with War Dogs losing the titles, I think like you mentioned, Karen, they have been very dominant in the division, but I think the one thing they haven't done is win Junior Tag League. And so maybe that was the goal here. I mean, you could have them win as champions, but I think that might be a little too dominant. So having them drop the belt, and then they could win the league, which they've never done before, and then go on to Wrestle Kingdom to face the Jet Setters as a possibility. Also, we know that history tells us they love to do multi-mans for the junior tag titles at Wrestle Kingdom as well. So you could have them win the league, and then you have like 2 other teams pin Jet Setters in the league, and then you end up with your traditional 3 or 4 way at Wrestle Kingdom.
And then it also hinges upon with, when January rolls around, contract renewal time comes up. So it all depends on who's staying and who's going in 2025.
Yeah,
that's true. What with the Junior Tag League, is that going to be on the next tour?
Yeah, so it's
the 24th, I think.
Yeah, it's after Royal Quest.
Okay, gotcha. So we'll get those brackets here pretty shortly. We'll have a better idea of what's going on there.
Yeah, we were talking about that off air. Like, I wonder if they're going to announce it this weekend, or we're just going to wake up one random morning and like it's just going to be announced. Like, is there a press conference? Like, what's happening here?
Mystery Vortex style.
Yeah. We had a question from Les Commission 7252. It says, at any point in the junior tag title match, did you feel like Kevin Knight would have turned on Kushida if they would have lost a tag team title match?
That is something people have been speculating about, whether they're going to break up. And I think a big part of that, like you mentioned, is people kind of want to see a greater utilization of Kevin Knight, see him kind of, expand his wings, do his own thing. I didn't see this match. I did see some of the gifs of the incredible dives to the crowd that Kevin Knight was doing. So, yeah, like he's really incredible, and he's arguably not. I mean, of those 4 guys, three of them are very much on the cusp of even being juniors, and I think the one with who has the best argument for not being a junior is Kevin Knight. I think he's bigger than both Bullet Club and War Dogs guys, just in terms of like
Height.
structure, build, and
He's
height
very
and everything.
tall.
Yeah. So I think that that's an interesting thing. But I don't know. Did you guys sense that there was any sort of animosity between the partners or anything?
Not really. There was one spot where Kushida went for like the flipping I don't know what it's called, but like the flipping like double kick thing, and he ended up hitting Kevin Knight on accident. But that was like the one like kind of mishap they had. But besides that, they were kind of in sync, doing their double team combos and seeing to have each other's back. So I didn't sense any issues there at all.
I guess it all depends on what the plan for them in 2025 is. If they're going to have, because again, well, it's the Hontai has a very shallow, young talent pool at the moment, and as we'll learn later on, there is some big announcements that may impact the structure of who's in Hontai eventually. But it's just they have too many heels in New Japan right now. I don't need anybody turning on anybody else right now, unless they're turning some people face. I need the balance and the force to like maintain right now,
Yeah.
at least till after New Year Dash, or you know what? After the 5th New Year's Dash, all bets are off. I don't care.
Barry Walsh asked, do some wrestlers lose momentum just based on how the calendar is booked? I'd almost forgot about Connors and Maloney, but remember after Maloney beat Naito, it seemed like he was on the cusp of a breakout and then gone again. Is this an issue that plagues both juniors and foreign talent? And also asking Vegeta and Eagles for Junior Tag League.
I think it's an issue that plagues everybody in the company. There are certain tours where tag teams are much more at the forefront and focus, and then even the Nevers, juniors, even heavyweights, and we see plenty of times where there are ebbs and flows throughout the calendar year, just depending on what the focus of each tour is. Breaking things up between, and I'm not even saying that this is negative, it's just a fact of life. When you look at the G1 and Best of the Super Juniors, those tournaments, as well as, Super Junior Tag League, World Tag League, those put halts to everything else that's going on in the company.
Yeah.
And then you sort of have to recalibrate by the time it comes around. And that's double edged. There are times where people need that reset and it's good for them. And then there's other times where like, Zack Sabre Jr., for instance, I feel like we're going to talk about him at the end of the show, and things are on the up and up. But I feel like he lost a little bit of his momentum coming out of the G1, just the way that everything was structured post G1, and that happens.
I think that the other challenge is that this is a year where, especially the junior division, there have been a lot of injuries between Watto needing surgery, Desperado being out right now, Yo dislocating his shoulder. It's one of those things where, especially when you have so many things that hit, like the months between August and December, everything is the setup for the Dome. Super Junior Tag League hinges on a lot of people. World Tag League hinges on a lot of people. So it's one of those things where there are too many plates spinning at the same time. And when you have one person or maybe two people doing all the booking, when you have this much talent, people consistently fall through the wayside. And I feel like the focus is, consistently been on world title picture. Lately they finally started paying attention to David Finlay and his run with that belt. But there has been a bit of stale booking as well, because, the juniors, as I've said multiple times over the years with you guys, the juniors are constant. They only get highlighted twice a year, but their booking for the entire division is never consistently made a priority. So
the juniors are basically, in many ways, and I know this is going to sound offensive to some people, but it's kind of true. They're the women's division of New Japan Pro Wrestling. The same way that like AEW and WWE have women's divisions, but there's only usually one story going on at a time, or two stories, and it's usually the ones that center around the title.
Yeah,
that's how the juniors are treated most of the year.
Yeah,
right. If it's not April, May, or October, November. Yeah, you're only going to see a few of them. Unless they're a part of a faction. Obviously, with faction warfare, you'll see obviously more guys like Hiromu and TJP, the guys that are part of factions and kind of a focal point of their factions. But yeah, a lot of the other foreigners don't always get to come in, or their juniors don't always get focused on. Then, like you mentioned, 2 Karens, there's been a lot of injuries as well. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of things that kind of put the junior division up in flux. But like you said, Josh, that is a great comparison of it, like being the women's division. Like, it usually gets, all right, here's the one match. It gets like 10 minutes sometimes if it's not the main event. And it's like, here you go. Here's your junior match. Like, let's get it out the way.
It's their 205 live. It's the
and if there is another feud that's going on underneath, it's just the one that's setting up the next title contender or tag team title contenders or what have you. It's not a perfect 1-for-1 comparison, but it, there's a lot of similarities. And how often are fans in the States saying, like, women's wrestling could hypothetically be presented on the same level as men's wrestling? There are people who say the same thing about junior wrestling in Japan. I'm one of them, where I'm like, just look at the UFC, just look at boxing, and the biggest stars are some of the smaller guys. One of the things that people have always criticized WCW in their heyday for is they had all of these stars that were marketable, that were huge draws in the cruiserweight division, and they didn't elevate them to the level that they needed to be, and that's been a mishap. So, yeah.
Well, let's move on to the next matchup. We have the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team title match with TMDK's Mikey Nichols and Shane Haste, and they were accompanied by Hartley Jackson. They defeated the Bullet Club Rogue Army team of Bad Luck Fale and Caveman Ugg in 7 minutes and 49 seconds. Karen, what'd you think?
I mean, I'm glad that Fale was able to come with somebody from Fale Dojo, but at the end of the day, it really didn't change the price of eggs for me.
I didn't see the match, but I can tell you exactly what happened here. Caveman Ugg was awesome, and Fale sucked.
That's exactly what happened. And last week I joked about, this match will be fun if it's based around Ugg and Team DK. And honestly, I'll have to go back and count, but Fale was not in this match very often. No. Like, it was pretty much all Caveman Ugg against TMDK. They jumped them at the start of the bell. Caveman Ugg did this cool leaping splash off the apron to Mikey Nichols, who was on a table. Yeah, on a table. Yeah, that was crazy. And yes, he's just doing all these cool power moves. There's a spot where he kicked Shane Haste into the turnbuckle, and he just fell out and died. So he's doing all this cool big man stuff, roundhouse kicks, fallaway slams.
Bro, you know what this shit is? This is like WrestleMania 5 or 6 when Andre was in his last legs and they teamed him up with Haku so that he could have a cool tag team partner. This is just Colossal Connection all over again.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know if Fale was legal in this match at all, because they jumped him at the beginning.
I don't think so.
Yeah, they jumped him at the beginning, and that's when he was doing stuff. And then everything in the ring was all Ugg. And then Nichols was able to get a hot tag, and then he came in at the Blue Thunder for near fall. Fale made a save, but they did a double suplex of Fale, got him out of there, and then they hit the Tank Buster and the other move, I forget the other one where they do the double Thunder Valley. They did Thunder Valley on Caveman Ugg and get the win.
It's amazing you guys know the names of these moves.
I mean, as someone who was the resident TM61 fangirl at NXT, the only one, this is very much close to my heart. But yeah, no. And also on top of everything else, Shane was selling, he was ragdolling himself through this entire match just to make it feel interesting.
Yeah.
I saw a post online where someone asked Shane Haste who he would fight if he could fight anybody in history, and he was like, Hitler, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
No, but Fale is definitely in his late stage Andre role, where he basically is having to keep a hand on the rope to make sure he can stay standing,
Yeah.
There's I feel years ago, back in 2018 or 17, he brought somebody over from the Fale dojo, and I want to say his name was Michael Richards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why isn't he teaming with Caveman? I feel like that would have been, because he went through the Noge dojo, so why didn't I bring him back and throw him in for a World Tag League? Because it would have been a far more energetic match.
Well, remember, Michael Richards was one of the 3 guys that was on that, what was it called?
Oh
What
no.
was
Yeah. The Fale, the dojo documentary.
Yeah, they were on that reality show that they put on New Japan World, and
Yeah.
they made 3 official Young Lion offers to Andrew Villalobos, Michael Richards, and then I forget what the other guy's name is.
Tula?
Larger guy. Yeah, Mark Tui. I don't remember his name, but Michael Richards is like the most senior guy of that dojo, the one who like had done tours here, was supposed to come back. And it's been years now, and the pandemic's over, and we've never seen him
back. Bring him back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who the fuck knows what? I mean, that whole the Fale Dojo thing was
we hear horror stories about stuff there, stuff we can't get on the air, but yeah, it's not always the best situation there, but
we're gonna have to get drinks later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it off there. But yeah, and then post match we had Great Okan and Hanare coming out to challenge TMDK for the tag team titles, and TMDK accepts anytime, any place. So World Tag League is coming up in November, but we do have this Royal Quest coming up, but they're facing Tanahashi and Ishii. There is Fighting Spirit Unleashed in the US. There is Power Struggle. So there's plenty of spots for TMDK and Hanare and Okan to happen.
Yeah, when I was reading the results and I saw that Okan and
Hanare.
What's wrong with me? Hanare. I am so tired, guys. Like,
You're
I don't know.
Fine.
Are
Don't
you
worry
guys
about
dealing
it.
with disaster fatigue?
Yes.
Like
I was doom viewing the hurricane for a week. And dealing with family that's out of the country. It was like, is your mom okay? Yeah, I know. I feel you. Don't apologize for it.
We didn't even really get it that bad here. It's just after it was over, the flooding where we couldn't leave for days and we were just like stuck and we're like looking down. We're like, oh my God. Like that was the worst part. But yeah, I'm just tired. But last week we literally predicted that Hanare and Okan might team together, and then to see that that's exactly what happened, I was like, good on us.
Well done.
We're pretty good. It's almost like we've been doing this for some time,
Well, let's move on to the next match. We have the never openweight title match. The Dragon, Shingo Takagi, retains and defeats the Grip, Rihei Oiwa, in 10 minutes and 42 seconds. So I know a lot of people were looking for Oiwa to get a win here. Didn't get the win. Karen, what are your thoughts here?
I think Oiwa had an outstanding, he made a statement, and of course going against a big personality and a solid all-rounder like Shingo. I feel like he can be easily dethroning a couple of the Reiwa 4 that are ahead of him in regards to singles championship potential moving forward into 2025. Of course, with it being dome season, I didn't really see Shingo dropping the belt, this close to the dome. I feel like my gut tells me he's going to go into the dome for some kind of big match as never champion, unless he wants to become a double champion by challenging Zack at some point. I don't know. But the Grip, I don't know who's coming up with these names. I need to speak with somebody in the office about these names that they are coming up with, because it's just okay, sure. It just doesn't, I don't know what it means. It sounds like he should be on an infomercial selling me pot holders.
One of those the weightlifting like grip things that you strengthen.
Yeah, or the little squeezy clamp. You can't reach something on the top shelf for your short kings and queens. He just like gets it for you. I don't know. But
I imagine that it's something that just you set it and then it grips it really hard. You're like, no effort. And
like if you can't open a can, you get the grip and it just opens. Like it's just, but yeah, I feel like this really showcased Oiwa's potential. Especially you can see the influence that he had during his residence in Noah or his excursion. But with as much as they keep talking about Noah, I'm wondering at some point if there's going to be another New Japan Noah crossover show, or title challenge down the road somewhere. I don't know, but
and shit's weird because they've got Nakamura showing up in
he's
Noah
coming back. He's coming back. Yeah.
So it's like the WWE shit is still happening with them, but they are all kind of tied together through through their TV partners. It's fucking weird, but
Yeah, because I believe Abema also streams WWE in Japan.
Yeah,
which is how they're able to have this. No one needs to move some tickets for that the new year, but Oka Sasaki wouldn't be my first choice for a Shinsuke Nakamura match.
No. One thing though is when you talk about the names of these like nicknames, since you're the only person that we know like intimately that actually speaks Japanese, I just assume that you know what the like cultural significance might be or the thought process. So the fact that you don't even know like leads me to be like, what the fuck are they doing?
I think it's the name of his short range lariat that he does. Like his finisher is called the grip.
Yeah.
But why would you call your? I mean, it's like the Gene Blast and the Gene Blaster, like the grip and the grip. Like what are we doing? what are we doing, New Japan?
What's the name of the people that do the WWE music that everyone hates? Death Rebel?
Yeah, Death Rebel, yeah.
And they have to say the name of the move or the nickname before the like song starts. Yeah. That's like what these nicknames are like. It's the name of their finisher and their name.
Like I just feel like they have like names in a bucket and they're just like pulling out like drawing straws to see like what you get with it. And it just I don't know. Like when you have like the dragon Shingo, like that has presence. The grip, it's like what is it?
Right.
What is it? What does it do?
Yeah, you always hear stories on podcasts and wrestlers like, yeah, Vince gave me an email like, here's 20 names and look through them and try and pick them. Like I just feel like they're just getting sent like the worst names. Like, you know what?
Like a word search and they're just like circling like
the grip's the best one on here. I guess I'll go with that one.
There's a time period where I would have done my Vince impersonation, but no more.
Yeah, no.
I thank you for that.
But the match was really good. Oiwa hit his Dr. Bomb for a great near fall of the match. Shingo was pumping Bomber. A lot of big strikes and suplexes. Oiwa did end up hitting the grip for a near fall, but didn't get the win. Shingo made Japan for a near fall. And then towards the end here, he had a pumping Bomber, the last of the Dragon, 1, 2, 3, and got the win and retained against Oiwa. I'll say that the one thing I didn't like, and I get it, they're not pushing him as a fully developed guy yet, but the fact that they kind of already burned his two finishers in this match. It was like, all right, the Dr. Bomb, which he was using to win in Noah, and then now he's doing the spinning lariat, the grip in New Japan, and Shingo kicked out of both of them already.
So what is the grip? You said it's just a
spinning lariat.
It's a spinning lariat that's kind of like short, like very close range.
So think Brody Lee.
Okay.
Yeah.
But does he have like a risk, like a Rainmaker wrist control on it? I can't remember.
No, not really. He just kind of like
Then why is it called the grip? Because he's not holding on to anything.
Yeah, I would have assumed that he was literally grabbing their wrists and then recording them.
No, it's usually it's straight up like Brody Lee style, like spinning.
So
lariat.
The move is called the grip, but he grips nothing.
Yeah.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. that tracks,
But and that's my problem with it. It's like, where's the consistency?
Yeah.
Oh, it's consistent. Heat Storm, Gene Blast. What's Renarita? I don't know.
Sold out.
Sold out.
Sold out.
SOULED. So like he has no soul. His sold out.
Soulless soul. Yeah.
Murder Machine.
Way to the Grandmaster.
Way to the Grandmaster. Yeah, this goes back to Pandemic era wrestling.
Oh man. We had a question from Navef in Discord. It's with commentary saying Oiwa is part of the new generation. Reminds me of the WWF new generation phase. Who from NJPW matches up to the WWF new generation roster, and who is Doink?
That's a tough question.
I can't weigh in on this one. I don't have the wheelhouse for it.
Well, Taguchi has to be Doink, right?
Well, no, because he's so old. Like he can't be Doink. Yeah, I started like doing. I read this question. I was like, oh, that's a great question. Who's who? But then you start thinking about it, and like, we're not at that phase of like, so the new generation was when all of the stars from WWF, like Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, all those guys, Ric Flair, they all left. And then the guys that were main eventing were Brett, Shawn, Diesel, Razor, Kid, all that shit. But we're not there yet. So it's hard to do a 1-for-1 comparison because these guys really aren't the main event yet still. The only one that's like the only two that have consistently done any main events is Shooter and Suji. And I'm sitting there, I'm like trying to think of the comparison point. I'm like, we're not in 1993 yet. We're probably like back in 91 where these guys are all wrestling the veterans and shit. And it's not quite the same,
Yeah, I know that the age doesn't match up, but could Zack be like the Bret Hart?
Yeah, I mean, he'd have to be, wouldn't he? The best, technically proficient wrestler in the company. But I don't know who the Shawn would be at that point.
Maybe Suji, just how flashy.
If I was picking, if I was picking a 1-for-1, I would say the closest thing in that scenario, just out of the young guys, would be the Bret would have to be. Who's hurt right now?
Uemura
is the closest thing to a Bret in that scenario.
So him, Bret, Suji, Shawn.
And then that would make Oiwa the Shawn. Gabe Kidd would be your Stone Cold, I guess. But I don't know. We don't really have a Diesel. We don't really have a Razor. I don't know. Fujita's Kid. I don't know. We're not there yet. That's the reality. Is like it's not the same because these guys are not on top of the company right now.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next matchup. We have the NJPW World Television Title 3-way match. Ren Narita, speaking of sold out, he defeats Jeff Cobb and Yota Tsuji in 12 minutes and 27 seconds.
All right, guys, you got to tell me what happened here. We predicted Narita's going to win, but I don't know what happened. What happened?
Well, it was pretty much like I said last week. Cobb and Tsuji focusing on each other. Ren Narita uses the push-up bar, hits Cobb with it, gets the roll-up on Cobb. 1, 2, 3, he becomes your TV champ. So, Karen, what do you think about the match?
I guess they're setting up Narita and Shooter to circle the drain at the Tokyo Dome. I don't know. Unless Jeff Cobb is challenging Zack at the Dome, I don't know why they took the belt off him this early.
Yeah, I don't know.
And why it went on to Narita instead of Tsuji. That's what baffles me right now.
Yeah, well, I feel like it seemed like the plan was going to be Narita after Tsuji and Cobb had the draw because Narita came out the challenge. But then I think with him being hurt for a little bit, they were kind of uncertain if he would be cleared, and so they had to make this a 3-way. So it seemed like maybe they was always planned to go give it to Narita. As far as Cobb, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do because, yeah, he's not going to be in the tag picture because Okan and Hanare are the team now, teaming up.
Unless TJ tags with him, but then who's Francesco Akira going to tag with during Junior Tag League?
Well, Cobb could team with Callum Newman.
Oh, that's right.
He's a heavyweight right now.
I forgot about Callum. Bless his heart.
I guess you could go that route. There's a never route. I mean, I know Shingo, we'll talk about it, he's trying to, get the world title, but we know Shingo and Cobb had a great Wrestle Kingdom match a couple years ago. You could run that back.
Are there any other champions in House of Torture right now?
No.
So, I mean, that's usually like your clear dead giveaway in a situation like this when, New Japan tends to always keep at least one title in each of the factions at any given time. So when I saw that Narita was challenging, I just assumed like, oh, it's his time. They're going to give him a little taste.
Can Shibata come and kick his ass for the belt? I'd like that, please. Even it's under 15 minutes.
Speaking of Shibata, he lost to House of Torture's Jack Perry this weekend. So he had his
House
own
of Tortures.
The scapegoat. He has his own problems over in AEW with House of Torture.
Jack Perry's not House of Torture anymore.
I don't know. I never saw him leave, so
I saw him leave. He lost, and then he never came back.
he did come back.
Whatever.
So yeah, so it was a fine matchup. It's like we talked about last week. Cobb and TJ doing cool stuff for each other. Narita breaking it up, being weaselly, and this trio is set up perfectly for him to go weasel his way into winning the title. So we'll see where it goes from here. We kind of talked about, this title everybody thought it was made for Narita when he came back from Excursion and he was in the TV tournament and he was beating people in the finals for him and Zack. People thought, yeah, he's going to beat Zack and kind of go on this great run with the TV title, and it didn't end up happening. So we're kind of got our way back to that. Unfortunately, it's on a strong style. It's sold out, and we have to deal with the push-up bar and the low blow and all that stuff. But we'll see.
This is the exact same feeling I had when Sho won the junior championship as he is now. Had it been Son of Strong Style Ren Narita, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's go. It's time. But this, not like this. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
At least the TV title's on a young guy finally for the first time ever.
Yeah. So following that, we had the Hiroshi Tanahashi 25th anniversary matchup. El Phantasmo, Tanahashi, and Umino defeating the House of Torture team of Evil, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Yujiro Takahashi in 9 minutes and 5 seconds. So we had Hantai coming out of the crowd. They were wearing the Gladiator outfits collaboration. Is that like a video game or a movie, TV show?
No, they made a sequel to the Gladiator movie.
Ridley Scott.
Yeah, Gladiator 2.
Gotcha.
So that was the sponsor of this particular show. So
gotcha. Well, yeah, they came out in the Gladiator gear, all three of them throughout the crowd. And this is pretty much what we've been seeing all tour long with Hantai and House of Torture. Them cheating, trying to get the advantage over the babyfaces, but in the end, the babyfaces got the win. Came down to a Tanahashi and Yujiro, and Tanahashi hit the sling blade, hit the high fly flow. 1, 2, 3. Tanahashi got the win for the team here. And then post match.
But before we jump into that, I just need to ask you, Jeremy, are you not a Gladiator guy?
I mean, I've seen the first one at some point, but I didn't realize they were making a second one. I haven't watched it in a very long time.
Wow. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, the sequel has like Denzel Washington and Pedro Pascal in it right now.
Yeah, and Paul Pascal is his name?
I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but yeah,
they're selling sex. That's what all this movie is about. Is they're selling sex? Like if you look,
that's what 300 was. Let's be honest.
if you've seen like literally the poster at the movie theaters, like there's no actual physical person's face that's shown. It's just a thigh. It's just a thigh and like his dress is running up to. I'm like, all right. So
in this economy, you have to do what you have to do. Okay.
I think Tanahashi saw that and he knew what he had to do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But yeah, so Tanahashi, sling blade, high fly flow, 1, 2, 3. He gets the win for the match here, and then post match he grabs a microphone, talks about it being 25 years, but he mentions that January 4th, 2026 will be the end for the Ace. So we have a retirement date set now for Tanahashi, January 4th, 2026, Wrestle Kingdom.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm glad they gave us a year and change, so I have time to save up so I can go.
I probably need to go.
Yeah, I'm thinking like now's the time. Yeah, we put a stake in the ground and start saving and head to Tokyo.
Do we just take all the money we've ever made from Keepin It Strong Style and put it towards that?
Why not? Oh man.
Yeah, I might need to go to that.
Yeah. So yeah, what are y'all thoughts about the Ace officially, setting the date and hanging it up?
The middle of this wasn't the place in the year where I was expecting him to make the announcement. I was expecting it after, well, one for a 25th anniversary match. This wasn't the lineup I had in mind either, but it is what it is, I guess. Did I cry this morning when, even though we've been talking about his condition for the last couple of years and how, when's he gonna hang it up? It's only a matter of time. It still hit me like a brick over the head this morning, and I did cry as I was trying to, look professional as I walk into the office. But I'm glad that he's come to the realization that he's being transparent about it. Like, even when they did the video with him and Kenny the week before last, they were both hinting that, they're very conscientious of how their own body conditions, and they need to be thinking about what their role within wrestling is going to be moving forward. I am glad there is time, because like I always told my friends, like, I want to see him wrestle one more time before he retires. Now it's like time to get the money saved, time to get those plane tickets booked. But I think he's made the right decision. But I also think him transitioning into the office late last year, earlier this year, was the first domino. So it's one of those things where I'm glad he has a plan of action, or at least he has a date so he knows what he's going to be doing. I don't think he needs another title run or anything like that, but I do hope he gets to wrestle all the people he wants to wrestle. And hopefully, knock on wood, put some younger talent out over on his way out.
Yeah. Immortality 777 on YouTube says if there's one show to ball out for, Tanahashi's retirement show, the Tokyo Dome is the one. Definitely agree there. But yeah, I hope the tour it goes well, like you mentioned, and yeah, he does get to do kind of all the big dream matches and kind of go out the way he wants. Maybe one final G1, some final big main events. It should be an interesting year. We did have a lot of questions here about it. First, from friend of the show, Zach Porter. He says, with a ton of news, do I need to update the case logo again?
No, you don't, because Tanahashi's not leaving. So we wound up with 3 figureheads in our logo. That's an alleged figureheads. I can't say for sure that that's who these people are, but what appears to be someone that looks kind of like Inoki, maybe a Liger, maybe a Tanahashi.
Just put a necktie on him.
Yeah, I think it's perfect time for merch, to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Tanahashi. Go over to chop-tees.com.
Buy our shirt.
I gotta get you
I don't know if you've seen the hoodie. The hoodie,
yeah, I just ordered one. So yeah, get you that Tanahashi or Tanahashi hoodie. Celebrate. And Zach also had a question for you, Karen. He says, "Are you psyched for the new Team 2000 X faction?" Don't know what that means.
All right, so Team 2000 X was announced today in Pro Wrestling Noah. It kind of it's from what because I only saw video clips of it. From what I'm gathering is that Jack Morris, who's been in Noah for a while now. He was part of Good Looking Guys with Jake Lee. Jake Lee left. They dissolved the unit. It looks like they're going to build a unit around Jack Morris, which if you listen to Post Pro Res, WH Park sometimes calls him like the bootleg Drew McIntyre because he's Scottish. I find him teaming up with Daga interesting. I find Yoshitatsu joining the trio annoying.
What an interesting group of people there.
Precisely. I wish there was a more, I don't know. Again, talking about naming. What is this naming? It sounds so uninspired.
It sounds like X Factor, like when X-Pac, Albert, and Just Incredible in WWF in 2001.
I thought it had something to do with Power Rangers, honestly.
No, it's like Team 2000. That was 24 years ago. Give me something new.
That's a quarter of a century, my guy.
Lee Chang is Bay 2 says, with Tanahashi retiring in 2026, where's he rank in the pantheon of New Japan? And will the Ace get one final run with the title? I can see them doing something like giving him a Muto run and having him drop into the next Ace, like what happened at Wrestle Kingdom 3.
Where does he rank in the pantheon? He is the pantheon. He literally put the company on his back. No.
Yeah, I think on my Mount Rushmore, he's the second head sitting right next to Antonio Inoki easily.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's up there for me. I mean, the guy that saved the company from the dark ages, and helped bring it to the golden age, and getting over, becoming a star, and then also being not selfish and helping get Okada over and doing that money feud and really helping New Japan launch to this golden era. And yeah, just being so consistent his whole run and having these great matches and the G1 finals, the IWGP title matches. I mean, yeah, he's definitely up there next. Yeah, like Josh said, right behind Inoki is Tanahashi. Next question from Doc. He says, would you guys be up for Cena and Tanahashi doing a special tag versus Nakamura and Orton?
I don't see anything like that realistically, although you never know. Wrestling's crazy, so you never know. I don't see anything like that realistically happening just because New Japan, obviously, they're not working with WWE, and I don't know that they would view Tanahashi in the same way that they saw, say Muto sending somebody over to work with Great Muta sort of thing. But I would love to see him and Cena lock it up just one time. I'm sure the match wouldn't even be that good at this point, but like I try to think of like the outrageous dream opponents that are out there that we've never seen for Tanahashi, and they're of guys that are active that you could potentially like want to see it. Like he's on the very, very short list.
I'm just curious to know why Randy Orton's on this list. Is Randy Orton on Tanahashi's short list, or is that just
I think it's because
foreigner that
he's Cena's rival, so you do Tanahashi and Cena against their two rivals.
I mean, I could I don't know if it would happen, but I would love to see Nakamura. If Nakamura's rocking up to Noah, usually, it's just a train ride or a taxi ride across town. So if he's around town, I would love to see him. And I think if they were going to grant someone a New Japan, seeing as they took Nakamura from New Japan, they would probably let him be the one to go back and do him, at least for Tanahashi, since they were in the dojo together, right?
Yeah. No, well, yeah, I think so. I don't know.
I mean, like around the same time.
Right. I mean, they were also the Three Musketeers and kind of generational rivals. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a great kind of one of the last match, which Doc kind of asked about. Should they send Tanahashi to face Nakamura? I think he was talking about at the Noah show. I don't feel it happened at Noah, but they should definitely, if they could do a Tanahashi, like, bye-bye show and one of the main events is him and Nakamura, that would be cool.
Oh. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the hierarchy from a dojo standpoint, and I don't know how all that worked out because if I recall, Nakamura he debuted a few years after Tanahashi and came in as the super rookie and like won the title in his first year and everything like that.
Okay,
but by that point, Tanahashi was already graduated to an extent, so I don't know where they were as far as in the dojo together.
That would have meant that from the hierarchy standpoint, Tanahashi would be here with like Goto and Shibata, I guess, and then Shinsuke would be after him, much like, if you want to use, modern terms, Umino and Narita are here, Uemura and Tsuji are here, and then, Fujita and Oiwa are here. So it's like Tanahashi is still Nakamura's senpai, even though they weren't in the dojo together.
Yeah, but Nakamura was champion way before him and was the guy he had to overcome to get to the top level.
That's the interesting thing about Japan is that it isn't who advances further, it's by time served, who gets into the company first.
Yeah. Staleburger Bun asks, in honor of Tanahashi's retirement announcement, what's your favorite Tanahashi match?
Kota Ibushi in the G1 finals.
Yep, that's mine up. That, and also for another one, him versus Shingo Takagi for the Never title a couple years ago. I love that match, and yeah, so those are definitely two at top right there.
I mean, if we start doing that, I'll be listing Tanahashi matches all day. There's a million of them, but like for me, the top one, the one that like gets me every time, the emotions of that moment when Murder Ibu is throwing the palm strikes and the kicks, and then Tanahashi fires up and starts walking through that shit, like, and hits the G1, and nobody thought like, bro, it still gets to me. Like, that's my favorite moment of his career.
Yeah, that was awesome. And Hawaiian Punch BV. Oh,
Karen didn't say her favorite.
Sorry, here.
Well, I mean, those are, see, my favorite is more of a sentimental, personal favorite for me, which is neither of those matches, even though they were both standing matches, but only because, and this is me being selfish, it was at Fighting Spirit Unleashed 2019 in Philadelphia at the 2600 Arena. It was a 12-man tag with Tanahashi teaming up with the Rock and Roll Express, Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii, and Goto against Bullet Club. But the reason why I like it, and if you go back and watch it, you will see my soul leave my body for two reasons. One, Tanahashi does the towel hug thing, which I had seen on TV many times before, and I was like, I'm going to try it out and see if it happens. He hold out a towel, he wiped his sweat off, he put it around my neck, pulled me in and hugged me. I wanted to die. But also, in the post-match promo for that, he was wearing two bandanas during that match because he was part of the Rock and Rollers. He took off the blue one and threw it to an older lady across the ring. My friend next to me started pointing at me, going like, Tana. And I'm like, shh, be quiet. He took off the other one, goes to the rope and says, this is for you, and like tosses it to me. And I still have it. I have a ring-worn bandana from Hiroshi Tanahashi, and that's why that's my favorite match with him.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Because it was free. And if it's free, it's for me.
Hawaiian Punch BV asked, is there any opponent that you want to see Tanahashi wrestle against in his retirement tour? Nakamura, Shibata, John Cena?
I want to see him wrestle everybody in his retirement tour, but at the same time, we got to be careful because I assume he's going to go through a G1. I assume he needs to be healthy to make it to the Dome, and
probably a New Japan Cup.
I don't know about New Japan Cup. I bet he doesn't do New Japan Cup.
You think?
I don't think so. I think he probably works the tour and does a big match on the night, but I don't think he'll be in the tournament. We'll probably see a Tanahashi who gives 20% most nights and then turns it up to whatever he's capable of a couple times throughout this retirement tour. But if it's possible, I'd love to see him wrestle Bryan Danielson one more time. I don't know who some of the big stars out of Mexico are, but maybe him and Mystico, that's probably a big one that hasn't been done. If there was anybody in WWE that's kind of realistic, maybe Nakamura would be a possibility, and that would be in some capacity. I feel like we've seen him in Okada enough, but at this point, now that he's walking out, you almost feel like he has to do one last Okada match.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then for his retirement, though, and this is my big thing, I don't want to see him wrestle any of those guys. I don't want to see him wrestle Suzuki or Shibata or Nakamura. I don't want to see him in the Dome on that night against any of those guys. The only things that work for me is him wrestling the heir apparent, whoever that might be. I don't know who it needs to be, but they need to make up their fucking mind. And if it's going to be Tsuji, then it needs to be Tsuji. If it's going to be Oiwa, then it needs to be Oiwa. Shooter, whatever. Or you put him in a ridiculous dream match that could never happen. That would be befitting of the stage. John Cena, The Rock, like those are the that's the level I'm talking about.
Io Shirai, let him fight you.
The Rock comes out.
Ace versus Ace.
Or the last thing that would work for me is whoever is the world champion on that night, one last title challenge. That would. I know that in most cases that wouldn't be the way to go out. But if anybody deserves to main event the show and challenge for the title and have one last, huge fucking send off, like it's Tanahashi. And so whoever that guy is, whoever's got the belt at that point, like that would be incredible.
Let it be Hiroki Goto.
But then if that's the case, then Tanahashi's going to win. He's not going to retire.
No, he has to put him over at least once.
No.
Nah. Yeah, but I mean, if you want to talk about a way to draw at the Tokyo Dome, yeah, Tanahashi's last Tokyo Dome.
And what about Kenny?
What about Kenny, you said?
I'd love to see him and Kenny go again one more time. I don't know if I want to see I personally don't want to see him on that last night wrestle anybody that we've seen him wrestle before, unless it's like for the title.
Yeah.
But I mean, they might feel differently, and he might feel differently.
But yeah, that would be a great way to draw Tanahashi's last main event, last Tokyo Dome, last title match. Like, that would be a huge draw.
If your whole thing though is to put him in there with a proven Tokyo Dome draw, then you are talking about a Kenny Omega or a Tetsuya Naito or a Kazuchika Okada, because the list of guys that are healthy that have headlined the Dome that can still do it, it's not as long as people think.
Yeah.
It's very short.
Like Ibushi can't do it. I don't know if a Suzuki match would make sense at this point in time. You know what I mean? Like those guys,
I mean,
Kojima.
there was Zack.
Zack's never headlined the Dome.
Not yet.
Oh, that's right.
Not yet.
Let's jump to the next matchup. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Title match. Doki defeats Sho in 14 seconds to retain the championship. So, Sho jumps Doki at the beginning of the match, throws him in the ring. He rips off Doki's mask, and we get, I guess, Kishin Doki. He has this weird face paint on. He spits the blood mist. He does the wild banshee scream, and he does 2 suplex de la lunas and gets the pin over Sho. We did have a question from first before we go into that question, Karen, what are your thoughts on Doki's Kishin, I guess, appearance here? Okay,
so I did a little bit of research today because your girl loves a good costuming and makeup situation. And when the mask was taken off of him, my knee-jerk reaction was, that's Kabuki theater makeup. Because even though it was just the half the face, the way the red stripes were painted and with the painting around the nose, I was like, please let it be something Kabuki related, because he tends to be, he's supposed to be Japones de mal, the Japanese evil. Like he's supposed to, and he tends to wear like more Warring States period with the baggy pants. He wears kimono like at the press conferences and stuff like that. But what I learned today, going to the Cultural Digital Library from Japan, is that
wow.
I did this for you guys. So there, in Kabuki theater, there is a type of red striping on a white painted base that's called Sujiguma, and it's used to signify a hero with superhero strength. So if we're talking, Doki's the champion, he's having to fight. He even though he's apparently evil, he's fighting evil in the sense that he's fighting the House of Torture. But the interesting thing is that there's a supernatural or otherworldly demarcation in Kabuki theater where it's, just so you guys know, it's not blackface, but it is a tan. It is a tan painting, but it typically has black markings as well as red or blue or purple markings. So my thing is that that's supposed to be like a vengeful ghost or an evil spirit. So, and how Doki has like the red contact lens with the black paint over one eye. So I need someone to fact check me that works for New Japan, like pull Doki aside and like bend his ear on it. But I feel like he was like paying homage to Kishin Liger, but also embracing some more niche and obscure, but also internationally very well known Japanese culture in possibly embracing Kabuki theater, which is also why he was doing the very, the wide eyes and the weird movements. It wasn't him just being like, ooh, I'm spooky, but more of the, let me drop a little culture on you uncultured masses in the professional wrestling sphere.
Hope you're right, because we're going to get aggregated. I hope you're right.
That's why I'm saying, based on the research I did, that's what I think it is.
No, I think that's super interesting. I was really wondering, because I looked it up. I've seen what took place here. I haven't watched the match. I am glad that it's Sho that was on the receiving end of the shortest loss in the history of the junior title. But I love the idea that there's greater lore here than it just being, because some people might say it's, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Other people would call it a ripoff or a knockoff, but it seems like, based on what you're saying, Karen, that there's a little bit more to it, than a little bit more thoughtfulness to it than it just being, a cosplay of a gimmick gone by, but that there's, basically the element where Doki sort of paying tribute to, kabuki culture and lore, and
I
sort of
really hope
putting a
that's
little
what
bit
it
more
is,
into it.
because like I put a link in our chat. Wait, you guys can take a look at it later. But when you see what I'm talking about, you're like, oh wait, that looks it's way too spot on, especially with the way that he's outlined the bottom half of his face for it not to be it. But I would really love it if my gut is telling me that it is what I think it is.
And following that, we did have a question for Barry Wall saying, do you think there's too much of the same things being done? The example of being Doki and his weird face and mystic stuff so soon after the Oswong. Maybe all the belt stealing makes it feel like it's not just using the same tropes, but using them ad nauseum.
I didn't see this, right? I didn't see it, so I can't tell you that it's not the same thing, but I just get the vibe based on the way people reacted and based on my own personal feelings about Doki that this is probably just a lot better than Oswong. Oswong sucks. This sounded awesome. And maybe that's unfair. Maybe it's, biasness just because we all love Doki, but, so be it.
I think moving forward, it also hinges upon how frequently he uses it. Because, he's supposed to be a face. So if he's pulling it out on every single match, then it's going to get tired very quickly. But in this particular instance, the whole story was, Show's trying to take the belt from him. He's trying to take his mask off him. If it's only taken out, like very much how Kishin Liger was brought out only when, Suzuki tried to murder him, and then he tried to murder Suzuki in return. So it's one of those things where if it's brought out on very specific, intentional occasions, I think it won't seem as more of the same.
Yeah, I think Kishin Liger was only utilized like 4 times the entire career of, Jushin Liger.
Exactly.
Yeah, so if it's used rarely and it's not this whole build up to, Kabuki Dokis, in a match, and I think it'll be fun.
And now I'm thinking in the top of my head, he pulled it out against Liger, he pulled it out against Bad Boy Hito, I think that's his name. He pulled it out against Taichi, and he pulled it out against Suzuki. Yeah, that's 4 times. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm missing one, but that's pretty much it. Like from 1996 to like 2019, like he used it 4 times.
I think the other thing that kind of makes the parallel to the Oswong so apparent is that it's Red Mist. They're both juniors. Well, TJ, we don't know if he's a junior or an open weight or a heavyweight at this point, but it's the, in a category we also have, Kanemaru and his mist. There's a lot of misting going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And speaking of Kanemaru, post-match, Kanemaru came out, he attacked Doki, and then Master Wato comes back, jet black hair, he runs in a suit, makes the save for Doki, beats up Kanemaru, and then he grabs the mic, says he's healthy, and wants to challenge Doki for the championship. So at some point, we're going to get Doki versus a returning Master Wato.
If it's Wato in the Dome, now it could be before then, and it could still be Wato winning. But if it's Wato in the Dome, Wato's taking that title.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because again, there's a ton of shows between now and the Dome. So it could be
there's Power Struggle.
Yeah, Power Struggle is one of the last big Japan show, and then there is a Strong Style Evolve, which I believe will be the last show in general before Wrestle Kingdom. Last big show besides World Tag League Finals. So yeah, there's some spots that can do it.
People will be mad if Doki had this fantastic run and then gets beat for the belt right before the Tokyo Dome, and then is just out, like on the outs on 1-4, which could happen.
Yeah, I mean, you need to get Wato up and running, and good thing for Wato, he got a great crowd reaction. I think he looks a lot better with the black hair versus the blue hair.
Yes. He went to the salon. He got a proper haircut. I just need his gear to match the new vibe. I don't need him to come back in the baggy pantalones. I need a new
The boot cuts.
I need a new Watto. I need Grandmaster Watto. Like, he's back. He's better than ever. Give me new fashion Watto.
I need him to not be Grandmaster at all. I need us to forget that portion of his life ever existed and just be something else entirely.
Hirai Kawato?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was awesome when he was Hirai Kawato. So interesting stuff there. A few questions here. So Doc says, with Kishin Doki debuting, do we think he goes further into madness? And Watto got black hair now and might be the man.
Did they call him Kishin Doki on, like, is there an official name for this sub character?
No, there's not an official name. Chris Charlton mentioned Kishin Liger on commentary, but they were not calling him Kishin Doki.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know how much we're going to see of this gimmick, and if he's moving on to Watto, I don't think he's going to do that on Watto. If he was wrestling another heel, maybe. But again, we'll see if he busts that again.
I hope it's his new alter ego, like the Great Muta. I said what I said.
Rambo says, is Kishin Doki going to make it to the Dome with that junior title?
I hope so.
If you want the match to be interesting and not have it circle the drain of the normal Hiromu Desperado / Taiji Ishimori, yes, keep the belt on him. He's wildly popular right now.
And you know what you know what I hope happens when he gets there?
Watto wins?
No. Doki wins.
Doki Mania running wild in the Tokyo Dome.
Doki 2025.
Remember when Miz had that gimmick, the day 514 of the never-ending Miz Intercontinental? Like, that's where we're at with Doki. Like, I want to start counting down his never-ending world tour of the junior title.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see Doki make it to the Dome with the title. I think he's earned it. The run's been good. But yeah, with Watto coming back, he's a guy that they've tried to push as kind of a new junior ace, so that could be a roadblock to Doki getting to the Dome. Super Junior Tag League coming up. There could be some challenger potential that comes out of that tournament as well. So we'll see if Doki is. There's a lot of just a few months before January, and there's a lot of shows between you got the UK show. There's 2 US shows. I think there's 3 US shows. I think before Tokyo Dome. World Tag League Finals. There's a lot of big shows that Doki has to get through before Tokyo Dome.
I mean, do I want to see Doki versus Zack at the anniversary show this year? Yes. So let's do that.
That'd be awesome. One angle I missed earlier, we did get a video package from our EVPs, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, the Young Bucks. They did a video package saying that they are returning to New Japan Pro Wrestling at Wrestle Dynasty. And that was
when you say our EVPs, you mean like AEWs?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Salute your EVPs. So the AEW World Tag Team Champions, the Young Bucks, will be at Wrestle Dynasty. We know Tanahashi and Omega teased facing the Bucks at Wrestle Dynasty. Karen, what were your thoughts on seeing the Young Bucks here?
Oh, don't ask Karen her opinion of this.
Y'all, I mean, I didn't know that crickets creaked this late in Japan in the autumn because it was
true.
You could hear a pin drop in sumo. There was no reaction. And that's not me being a hater. You watch the video, there was no reaction.
Yeah, I was surprised. Normally, when you get guys like that and they do the video package thing, you get the ooh, like the crowd, like ooh and ahs. But it was nothing. Dead. There was no reaction, no pop.
Though I did watch this video, and the main reason I watched it is because I started hearing like the deep purro, gatekeepery like stuff about nobody responded. And I was like, all right, that's probably a little bit overblown. Let me just watch this video. And then I watched, and you could tell the way that Matt and Nick delivered it. They put pauses after impactful words because they expected the crowd to do live reactions, and it was dead ass silent. And I was like, oh no, this is bad.
Yeah.
It was like when Sasha showed up that first time and nobody responded. It was very similar to that.
Yeah. So yeah, this
it wasn't for lack of titling. It had their names on it. They had the information. It was just flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Ryogoku crowd did not care for them.
Yeah, I don't know if this is and I honestly, it's a very polarizing topic, the Young Bucks, because I've heard from both ways. I've heard people that have claimed like they're just, they were never over, they were a non-factor in Japan, blah 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 blah. And I've heard other people talk about the larger, cultural impact they had on the company and everything of that nature. And I feel like honestly the truth is probably somewhere in between, but a lot of the evidence that I hear from both parties, and this is like one of those wildly debated things in like Twitter circles and on Discords and stuff. I think most of it's anecdotal, but I think there's a lot of proofs in both directions just over the years. But the reality is, here on this night in this building with this big announcement, they didn't give a fuck at all. And there's no other way to put it. They did not care.
Yeah.
Like, had it been an announcement from Kenny or Okada, the building would have, exploded. And that's not me being a hater.
Yeah, and and another thing to add to that is like, how many times have we seen? How many times? I'm trying to be diplomatic here, but there's no way to be diplomatic about it, Jeremy. Like, how many times have we seen guys from like minor companies get announced for like a Super Juniors, like a Mike Bailey, right? How big of a now Mike Bailey's incredible, but like Mike Bailey works for Impact and on the Indies. How big of a draw is Mike Bailey in Japan? He's worked a few companies, but he's not like a huge deal. But when they announce him for Super Juniors, like, oh, like no one gave a fuck about the Young Bucks coming back.
Yeah, it was rough.
Crazy.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I mean, they were over when they were there.
It might be a different story on the night in Tokyo Dome. It might be different in other buildings, but in Ryogoku, they did not care.
There were 6,000 people in that building.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. They didn't care.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to something that they did care about, and that was the IWGP Global Heavyweight title match. We had the Rebel David Finlay retaining and defeating Hiroki Goto in front of his kids, 16 minutes and 58 seconds. Karen, what'd you think?
All right, so just so we're clear, the kids didn't cry because of David Finlay. They cried because their dad lost. Because there was a point where David Finlay was given, Goto's two children who were under the age of 10, the double middle fingers, and they just no-sold him. Like, the biggest no-sell of the night was Goto's little girl just being like, all right. And then going back to watching her dad. So, I mean, it was the match was what it needed to be. It was another solid match, from someone we've been talking about consistency throughout the year, especially, when it comes to putting other people over, the quote unquote understanding the assignment. Goto knew he wasn't going to walk out with the championship, but he was going to give it David Finlay a hell of a match and a run for his money. I enjoyed the match. Did we need the shillelagh? I really don't think so. But that's me just nitpicking because, Geto can't help himself.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good match. It wasn't as good as the Yoshihashi match a few weeks ago. Yeah. And it wasn't as good as the Finlay Goto G1 match, but it was still a very good matchup. And yeah, having the kids sitting front row was perfect. And yeah, Finlay giving them the double bird and jaw-jacking them the whole match and beating up Goto in front of them, getting good sympathy and heat was really good touch to this. And again, the crowd, and as soon as Goto's music hit, the crowd's Goto. And so, yeah, they were behind him. They wanted to see him get the belt. And, yeah, the press conference, Goto was like, yeah, I'm going to beat you in front of my kids. I'm going to win the belt. And so, yeah, so everybody kind of thought, that Goto was going to get the win with the kids being there and in the front row. But, yeah, it was not the case. Like you mentioned, Karen, we had a distraction from Gato towards the end there, throwing in the shillelagh. Yoshihashi tried to fight Gato off, but then Finlay was able to hit Goto with the shillelagh, and then eventually hit the overkill, that pop-up knee that he does to get the win over Goto.
Yeah, I saw a portion of this, but I had just woken up in the morning, and I was half paying attention. It seemed like the action was good, but I pretty much echoed most of the same sentiments you guys had here.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised at all. I didn't think Goto
Oh,
was
no.
winning here. I would have liked to have seen Goto win, but it just makes more sense that that they carry David Finlay into the Dome as champion with the kind of run that he's had with the belt, recently. And I'm not sure what that trajectory would look like if they had had Goto be the guy that won here instead.
Yeah. Then post match, Finlay got on the mic and he's saying he wants to get a win back from somebody that beat him in the G1. It's been bugging him until he calls out Yuya Uemura, but he's hurt. And so he's like, "Come on, Yuya, where you at, Yuya? Oh, you scared?" But instead of Yuya, out comes Yuya's partner and stablemate from Just Five Guys, Taichi. So Taichi gets in the ring and he challenges Finlay. Finlay tried to hit him with the belt, but then Taichi hit him with a dangerous backdrop suplex. Dangerous. Left him laying. Held the title up in the crowd. It's so funny. Not chanting "Go home, Taichi." They're chanting "Let's go, Taichi." And so crowd fully behind Dangerous T as he will challenge Finlay. And one of these shows are coming up in the fall.
I'm going to assume that that's a power struggle.
Probably.
Yeah, we'll see.
I want Taichi to win this title.
We are far, far removed from the days where they would chant for him to go home. He's very beloved right now, not just because, of being like the older brother guy in Just Five Guys, but like, he's just, I hate to say it, he has way more charisma than Sonata does, and Sonata's supposed to be the leader of the group. So Taichi Gumi win. Just saying. When's he taking over?
Yeah. I'm excited for this. I mean, if there was a lot of complaints about Taichi not getting into the G1, and even David Finlay, made the comment, a guy's going to challenge me for my title. He couldn't even qualify for the G1. And go ahead.
One of the things that I remember seeing on social media after the G1 happened, part of the reason why, and this could be, probably him pulling back the curtain himself, Taichi had a death in the family. And then usually in Japan, when there's a death in the family, typically for about 45 to 50 days, you can't really participate in any activity other than like just mourning and like spending time with that. So I feel like his exclusion from the G1 this year, if I'm translating his tweet properly, it wasn't due to a lack of his talent, because we all know that if he's going to go for a championship like this against David Finlay, they understand that. But I feel like he needed that time off because that was around the time that there was the death in the passing in his family.
That could be the case. It could also just be, not to say fortunate timing, because, obviously, best wishes to him and his family, but they also might not have had the plans to utilize him going forward in this year's G1, the same way that they didn't use, like
Yoshihashi.
Yeah, Yoshihashi and everything
Ishii.
like that. And Ishii. So it might have just kind of lined up and made sense for him to take that time off as well. But if the outcome of it is going to be him getting this opportunity to challenge for this title, and the chances of him winning the belt are probably not super high, but I'm going to be rooting for him. And I know a lot of New Japan fans are going to be super behind him, and if they want to create a moment, that's a way they could do it. I'm predicting that by the end of the year, we're going to get quadruple gold dash. We're going to have the first ever 4-way match where all the men's singles, heavyweight, and openweight champions, they're all going to fight each other in the Tokyo Dome. We're going to have one grand champion.
Oh, we're putting Mayu Iwatani in there. She's walking out with all the belts. well, that being said, I guess I might be jumping the gun. I'll wait till you read the question about it, because I have thoughts about talking about Taichi and all that, but I'll wait till the questions are written. So,
all right, we had a couple questions here. So, MJ Discord Daddy says Finlay is having these sleeper bangers with the older gents, and I expect that to continue with Taichi. Are these matches creating the type of legacy and identity worthy of a NJPW secondary title?
I mean, I think so. It's it's not, it's not going to be an overnight success because again, they merged the IC title, but it's getting there. I think if they keep giving Finley matches that, people end up talking about, like him and Yoshihashi, I mean, yeah, is it, a 5-star classic? Not right now, but I think the more consistent, if he's paired up with consistently strong workers moving forward, as long as he's champion, it'll give the belt stability, and that's what it needs the most right now.
Yeah, I think people are going to look back on this title run / era of his title reigns if you kind of combine his initial, win of the belt earlier at the beginning of the year. They'll look at it favorably,
Yeah, if you just cut out the Nick Nemeth stuff, and you count the beginning of the reign and the reign after that, it's been very good. And yeah, it's unfortunate that they had to do the whole Nick Nemeth stuff because I feel like he probably would have just held the belt all year long and would have been having all these great matches. And yeah, I think this is a great role for him right now, kind of being this bully heel that kind of beats your heroes, these guys you want to see get the win. So Taichi fits that criteria perfectly, like Yoshihashi and Goto. This kind of older guy on the roster that's still great, that you want to win and kind of get their flowers and get their moment. And so, I mean, Taichi could win, or it could be another hero that he kind of vanquishes until you get the one person that's finally going to beat him, which it should be at the Tokyo Dome.
Karen, you see somebody bought the Iron Throne for $1.5 million.
The actual Iron Throne?
Yeah.
It was not me, but I hope they enjoy it. It's I'm guessing it's not the melted down version after Drogon got a hold of it. It's just the original.
The one from Game of Thrones.
There was when the show was going on, quick sidebar, they actually had it in town. You could sit down and take a picture in it.
Well, not anymore. It's gone
I
now.
have a picture in the Iron Throne, so.
We had a question from Wukong 901. He says it might be Goto over, but Taichi being the next challenger is interesting. Do you guys think Yuya was the original plan for taking the strap off Finley? With him out the equation, who could be plugged in? Tsuji seems like a no-brainer, but Finley bringing up Jay White got me guessing. New Japan is cooking right now.
I mean, I could see Yuya in the conversation for it next year. I could see Finley taking the belt all the way to the Dome. I mean, Tsuji would be the easy plug-in only because he was a G1 finalist. But this is what I wanted to wait for to talk about. Like with Jay White, him mentioned, I don't know if Jay White was mentioned in the backstage promo or in the in-ring promo because Finley was screaming a lot.
It was he did some interviews building up to this match. And talking about Wrestle Dynasty, that he said that, yeah, he kind of mentioned Jay White.
So if he has Jay White's name in his mouth, and Jay White was when Jay had the IC title and the Never title and the US title, Finley could never beat him for it. So if you want to have a match either at Wrestle Dynasty or at the Dome, you could have Jay challenge Finley for the belt. But it also hinges upon how heavily protected TK is when it comes to Jay White. If they're gonna have Jay White lose to Finley, so Finley can kind of get more legitimacy, or when talking about getting the belt off of him, if they were to fly Jay out to get involved in that Taichi match where Taichi gets the belt off of Finley, and then they start a blood feud, picking up old business. That's what I have cooking in the back of my brain right now.
I could also see a scenario a little bit simpler but similar where Finley has a title challenge on 1-4, he drops the belt. 1-5 is the night where he wrestles Jay, and it's non-title because he doesn't have the belt anymore.
Yeah, I think for me, I would prefer for 1-4 it be Finley versus somebody like Tsuji, and Tsuji did beat him in G1. Tsuji's not in the TV title picture. I feel like that would be a great spot to put Tsuji in the Dome, have him beat Finley and win the global title and kind of give Tsuji a kickstart for 2025. All right, let's move on to the main event for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Zack Sabre Jr. defeats Tetsuya Naito 24 minutes and 41 seconds to become the new champion. Karen, what you think?
Finally, it's come home. I'm so excited. I mean, we were all fairly certain when it got, Zack won the G1 that he was going to win the belt. When he announced that he was going to not waste any time and challenge earlier than the Dome, he was going to win the belt. But it was one of those things where even though we're in that like final stretch to the Dome, I didn't want to believe it until it actually happened because I felt like, with as much as they rely upon Naito to do so much, especially when it comes to selling out a Tokyo Dome or, trying to promote a Tokyo Dome, I'm glad that they finally they weren't cowards about it. They had a good match. They had a long match, longer than I was expecting it to be. But at the end, Zack seems to be a very stoic guy, but you could tell that he was getting a little emotional during the match because it was, it was finally happening after so long. After, 13 years in Japan and 20 years wrestling, he was finally able to win the big one.
Yeah, definitely a great moment there for Zack, and great atmosphere. He had a split crowd for the matchup. I felt like the first 15 minutes of the match was very kind of grapple heavy. Both these guys kind of exchanging holds and submissions. Sabre obviously working over the legs of Naito. Naito working over the neck of Zack Sabre Jr. It was a nasty tornado DDT that Naito did to Zack, and Zack did this incredible sell, just bounced off his head. Also, Naito was doing a lot of Zack's maneuvers. He was doing the kind of the twist to the head and some of the submission moves that Zack would normally do. So Naito was kind of trying to play Zack game throughout the match, and then there's a point there they just kind of went to more strike base kind of after 15 minutes, and they're exchanging strikes. Naito hits the big Frankensteiner. And Zack's able to come back. Naito hits a Destino for a near fall, and then Zack gets Naito tied up in the Clarky Cat, which was a very near submission there, where Naito he had Naito all wrapped up, but he got his foot to the ropes. Then he came back, and Zack hit the Gotch pile driver from Suzuki, and a great line from Charlton saying the King helping Zack get to the throne. Great line there. Naito continues to go for Destinos. Sabre hitting a big lariat. He hits a Zack driver. Naito kicks out at one. It's another Zack driver. Naito kicks out again, and then he hits the cross-legged Zack driver. 1, 2, 3, and becomes a champion.
Yeah, I didn't know if he had a name for that variant of that move.
Yeah, as far as I know, I've never seen him use that version of the Zack driver. So for now, I'm just calling it the cross-legged Zack driver.
Oh.
You're muted, Jeremy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. My mic has been muting itself throughout the show.
We're having some tech issues tonight, boys and girls. But yeah, man. I really, really, really loved this match, almost from bell to bell. I do understand that in the early portions of the match, they did do quite a bit of grappling. Normally my feeling on that is if the grappling doesn't lead to anything of consequence or note, and it's just there to kind of fill time, then it's superfluous. But that's not what this was necessarily. Um, there was a story that was really being told there, where like Zack had a game, he was enacting his game. Naito was trying to play that game with him, but like pretty quickly realized that he really couldn't hang with him on the ground. And that's when you started to see Naito resort to other tactics like spitting on Zack to get Zack to come out of his comfort zone and uh, exchange strikes and exchange, spots with him, which was pretty effective. But the whole time, like you mentioned, Jeremy, Naito was really focusing on the neck of Zack, and Zack was focusing, like you said, on the legs and the knees. But one thing that kept happening was Naito was able on a few occasions to halt the exchanges of Zack, where Zack is constantly moving from maneuver to maneuver to really tangle a guy up. Naito was kind of focusing more on just one singular target and then weakening it, and then finally got him to a point where there was a couple times where Zack had to go to the actual ropes to get rope breaks. which are highly unusual for Zack. We very rarely have ever even seen him do that. There was a few moments there down the stretch where they did some really incredible false finishes with submission, teases for both guys. But there was one in particular where Naito got Zack in a really, I don't even know the name of it, but it's a version of the Koji clutch that was super deep. And I was like, I know Zack's not going to tap to this, but he also isn't getting out of it, and he's in it for a long ass time. And I was like, oh, it was making me super nervous.
Yeah, the Puma Blanca.
Yeah, the Puma Blanca, like he had him like dead to rights in that one, and that was really, really, really nerve wracking. And then down the stretch where Naito started hitting Destinos and the fact that he hit the Super Frankensteiner, I was like, we've seen New Japan put guys in situations where you expect and hope for them to win, and then they lose, only for them to have to come back later, maybe even years later to finally win. And I'm like, are we seeing one of those heartbreaking moments right now? Like, and with every single Destino that Naito hit, I got more and more nervous, and I was like, oh my God. Like,
yo, I got nervous after he kicked out the Zack Driver at 1. I was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna power up.
I didn't. You know why? Nobody ever wins when they kick out at 1. Have you guys ever noticed that?
No, I've never really.
People that kick out at 1 don't win matches. People who kick out at 1 are kicking out at 1 in defiance to the inevitable fact that they are about to lose. Because they have nothing left, and it's a desperation gasp. Because, like, if they don't kick out right then, they might get pinned. Anyway, it's a dead giveaway. It's every match. If you kick out at 1, you're fucking losing. Period. It's the same thing as someone pulling out a table and then they're the one who goes through the table almost every time.
Yeah.
It's the same shit. So when I saw him kick out at 1, I was like, let's go. But I was still a little bit in disbelief until Zack finally put him away. And then it was cathartic, but I also like couldn't believe it happened. Like, and I was so happy.
Yeah, definitely great.
I looked at the New Japan results website, and the name of this version of the Sabre Driver, as they're calling it, is because Zack loves his long fancy names. You've been tangoed special, TANGOED.
Okay. Well, Zack hit him with the Zack Driver.
That's what he's calling it.
I have no respect for Zack's names because it was cute the first time, but now I don't know the names of any of his moves because he's got so many long ass names for all his moves, and none of them stick. So
it's a Sabre Driver.
Yeah, it's a Sabre Driver.
Yeah. Then post match, of course, we got celebration with Zack and TMDK that was out there, Vegeta, Nichols Hayes, and Hartley Jackson. And then we had a parade of challengers coming down to the ring. So of course, first we had Sonata coming out in his his 3-piece suit, and they're facing off at Royal Quest this coming up weekend. So, Sonata was, trying to finesse and finalize that, make it a title match. So he came out, and then you had Shota Umino coming out and getting booed. The crowd booed when Umino came out and tried to make his challenge.
And then, they booed him.
Yeah. And then you had Shingo Takagi coming out, mentioning, he beat Zack in the G1, and he wants to get his title match. Then Umino's like, well, I beat both you and Zack in the G1. I should get a title match. And of course, Sonata's just in the back. It's like, no, me and Zack. And so they're all arguing with each other who's getting the title matches. Then Zack is like, Sonata first, and then I'll think about who's next. But can you all please get the hell out the ring? And so kind of shoot them all out of the ring. And I was able to kind of cut his post-match celebration promo.
I'm just going to say, this felt racist.
What? Zack getting rid of all Japanese guys?
Every time there's a domestic star who's the champion who wins, nobody comes, you don't get like 4 or 5 guys coming out to challenge him. A white guy wins, everyone's out there. They did it with Jay White. Now they're doing it with Zack. The trend continues. I don't like it. All right.
So I had a question here from Les Commission 7252. Now that the crowd has denied Shota, are we getting heel Shota next year? And are you excited for what's to come from him in the next upcoming months since he's getting that 2014 Naito denial treatment?
I need Shota to figure out who the hell he is first, because it's the. I know they want to push him as the guy, as the new ace. He is the self-proclaimed new ace, as we've all learned. But when you're standing in a ring with the winner of the G1 / the new champion and two other guys who are previous world heavyweight champions, he doesn't read the room. And the fact that if this was Osaka, I would get booing his inability to read the room. But this was the fact that this happened at Sumo Hall. I was like, they really don't want him.
Yeah, they don't want him.
they really don't want this. And that for me, as somebody who is a fan of Shota, it's kind of hard. It was kind of very uncomfortable to watch. I had like a nervous laugh when it happened. So I was just like, what is this? And I know that they're trying to make the whole I beat you in the G1, but he hasn't proved himself enough to be like, I need to be the one to challenge you for the title.
You know how they say
just keeps coming out trying to get a shot, and everyone's like, no man, later, babe, later.
They say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Well, I think in Japan, if you can make it in Tokyo, you can make it anywhere. But if you get booed in Tokyo, that is it. That is the home base audience in their number one key arena. Like people always talk about Korakuen, they always talk about Tokyo Dome, but like Sumo Hall, like that is like that's like their Madison Square Garden. And if you got booed there, fuck, bro, I don't know.
Yeah, dude.
He's supposed to be a baby face, and I'm just like, bro, they're not behind you right now.
Yeah, when he got booed, I was like, I was like,
right?
I'm like, oh my gosh.
It makes me wonder, like, how tuned into the the rumors that were going on around like G1 time with backstage stuff. How much of that was is out there in the zeitgeist? Do the fans know about that stuff? It feels like maybe they might.
I don't know. Honestly, it just felt like a rejection. It was like, we have Sonata out there, we have Shingo out there. We don't want this guy. Like he's getting forced down our throats. He's done nothing to prove himself. Like, he didn't go to the G1 semifinals. He was in the G1 finals. Like, he's been losing all year. He's been feuding with Hella Torture all year. He's done nothing. He has that horrible haircut, not the great physique. It's like, we don't
Jeremy, why are you burying this dude?
No, because the vibe was literally, the adults are talking, the kids need to go home now. Like
Jeremy's dropping bars.
I mean, but is he wrong though? Because he's interpreting my diplomacy into what I actually want to say that I can't bring myself to say, because it's not 2024 or is not his year. 2025 is also probably not going to be his year if he can't get the people behind him.
I know what I would have done if I was in his situation. I would have broke out some glow sticks. I got glow sticks, guys.
Have a wristband. Let me go hug a baby real quick.
You want a wristband? I got a wristband. Oh, look, I got Mox's jacket.
Yeah, in the promo, he's like, Tanahashi's retiring, so somebody has to step up for Hantai, and the crowd was like booing the whole time he's talking, and
he's a nepo baby, bro. He's a nepo baby. That's how they view him. That's the word, and how people feel and view him. And I know the parasocial relationship with New Japan wrestlers and their audience isn't quite the same as maybe it was, like, say, in the UK scene. But it's definitely more than what we see in the West with the sponsor culture and everything. People talk, people learn things, people hear things. There is a sentiment backstage that is held widely. We don't talk about it on the air here, but it's not a secret. All you got to do is go out and do some digging. There are feelings that people have legitimately behind the scenes about Shota Umino. And I feel like that has permeated its way into the audience. And that, combined with the booking, combined with the lackluster performances, and combined with everything else, I think it's a perfect storm for the man got booed in their fucking MSG. That's terrible.
I just don't understand why he didn't try to do this when they're all in the UK on Sunday, after Zack and Sonata have their match. I feel like they're trying to shoehorn him in, and it doesn't feel organic. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like Takagi, I get, because Takagi's a proven main eventer. Him versus Zack at the Dome, sure, why not? Certified banger, it'll be great. But when I think of the possibility of Shota Umino main eventing the Tokyo Dome, I'm just like, why? Like the Ryan Reynolds meme where he pulls his mask off, I'm just like, why though? Like I just it doesn't evoke anything other than this is not his time. It still isn't his time.
Yeah,
I think some of that you gotta wonder about the booker.
Yeah, well,
those decisions.
I think part of it is because there are so many shows in the fall. They're just trying to place the breadcrumbs of who's coming up next, so that because also New Japan will not advertise a title match really until it's time for it to happen, and so they're not going to say. They normally won't go like, oh, well, the winner of Zack Sonata is going to face Umino next. They usually don't do that. So I think it's their way of saying, all right, Umino's next, and then Shingo's next, and kind of laying the breadcrumbs for the fall. But if he did it in Royal Quest, it probably would have came off better because he is over in the UK. Did part of this excursion there. Like it probably would have gotten a better reaction had he challenged Zack after Zack beat Sonata. But yeah, it did not come off well here. Les Commission also asks, is TMDK the top faction in New Japan currently? This year didn't feel like LIJ and United Empire's best year as a faction. Each faction won faction of the year ever since you guys created the year-end awards.
Wait, what?
LIJ and United Empire, they have won faction of the year. Every one of them has won faction of the year since we've been doing the awards. And so he's saying
Bull Club never won?
No. It's always been, most years it's been LIJ, and I think United Empire have won, I think they won the last 2 years in a row.
Suzuki-gun got really close a couple years ago, and I felt like they should have won, but they didn't. They might be the faction of the year, but it feels like a down year for like all the factions.
Yeah,
I think Zack will definitely kind of put a lot of weight behind TMDK winning, also winning G1, winning the title. And then, Hayes and Nichols, they're double champions right now. Who knows? Maybe Vegeta and Eagles win your tag league. Hey, Bad Dude Tito, he's the MLW national openweight champion.
I don't even know if he still goes here at this point.
Yes.
If you're just talking accolades, probably. But I also kind of feel like everything still centers on LIJ at the end of the day, and they might still just win based on that.
Possible. But
Hantai could win.
You think?
I don't think so.
You gotta believe.
I think TMDK it has definitely had a strong year, and I think it's gained more traction in the second half of the year. With Zack winning the G1 and now the championship, with TMDK having the belts, with the addition of Oiwa coming back from excursion. I feel like this year, LIJ, everyone's been kind of doing their own thing. Like they haven't really been they've been a faction, but they've always been like somebody has always been jockeying for the title or had the title, but no one's really been. They haven't felt as cohesive as they have in the past. And I feel like United Empire, I love them, but I feel like they haven't recovered from the loss of Ospreay. I feel like they haven't found the right person to rebuild the unit around. Like they always say that they don't have a leader, but they feel so because they're so very much we're all equals, which is great. But they also feel a bit they need someone to steer the ship better because I feel like they're just kind of all going in different directions.
You know what? And I mean, it's kind of early, and this really isn't the time for awards discussion. But I just gave a second thought about it, and I'm probably going to vote War Dogs.
Oh.
That's a good vote. Yeah.
That would be a good one.
I think that is the vote. I think they're the faction of the year. If you kind of
you just want to give Bullet Club a win for a change.
Oh no! I mean, I don't. There's no reason that I would want to. No, that's not true.
You're not a t-shirt company. We know.
No, that's not the case. I just thinking about it. Like that's the most cohesive group.
Yeah.
With sustained success throughout the year, probably.
Next question here from at Cashews is Life. It says, good to see you guys are okay. I hope after the hurricane. After ZSJ's defense in England, do you think Zack's 1-4 plans includes a singles match or a multi-man with Shingo and Umino? Or do any of you see a different match in Wrestle Kingdom that doesn't involve these two?
I think there's only two matches that make sense to me. A rematch with Naito, which I could easily see happening, or the Okada match that I've been predicting for a long time now.
Yeah, Okada would be a great. That would be my dream wish list. Short list would be Okada. I kind of want to see Taichi go for it just because, my Dangerous Tekker feelings. I feel like that would be a great match. I know they won't let him do it, but Shibata challenging Zack would be one I would like to see. But again, a lot of these guys don't go here, so I really hope it's not a multi-man because I feel like Shingo is going to have Jeff Cobb's not doing anything. So, Jeff could either go up against Shingo if we want to have a guaranteed never, blow the socks off the building. But I never thought I'd be one to say, I just don't want to see Umino in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom this soon because I don't think he's ready for it. I mean, Tsuji would be a good one if you're going to put like one of the new guys in because he was the G1 finalist. But
yeah, I don't see them doing a multi-man match. I don't know. Have they ever done a multi-man match with the IWGP title in Dome?
At Forbidden,
Yes.
at Forbidden Door, but I don't know about the Dome.
Yeah, at the Tokyo Dome, it was Masahiro Chono versus Kazuyuki Fujita versus Brock Lesnar in Brock Lesnar's debut match, and Brock Lesnar won the title. And the only reason they did that is because they needed somebody to bridge the gap between Fujita and Lesnar both not wanting to do business with one another. So they needed a third guy there to do that job, which is why Chono was there.
But yeah, it's a very rare thing though. They rarely do multi-mans for the IWGP title. So yeah, I don't really see them doing Zack, Shingo, Umino. I don't see Umino sniffing that Tokyo Dome main event anytime soon. So
only if he's seconding somebody else.
I'm just gonna I'll keep repeating what I have said multiple times, and until now, granted, this is the year where New Japan has done some new things, so they might change tradition, but this is just we're going back 30 plus years, and this has never been unproven. New Japan does not run two first-time Dome main eventers at the same time in a singles match. They always have a proven draw in that match against someone, and if it's going to be Zack, they're not putting him in there with somebody that hasn't headlined the Dome at some point in the past. And when you think about who those guys could potentially be, taking away most of the older guys like Tanahashi and Suzuki and Kojima and Nagata, and then just kind of leaving you with who's in the company that can still
Goto.
go. Goto's never headlined the Tokyo Dome.
Oh, that's right. Damn.
Yeah, it really is just two guys. You've got Shingo and you've got Naito, and that's it.
Sonata.
I guess you could do Sonata. That's true, but
they're doing that at Royal Quest.
Yeah,
Evil?
they're doing that. They're doing that at Royal Quest. Evil's never headlined the Tokyo Dome.
Oh, he just ran in. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Tanahashi, but they're probably not going to do Tanahashi. And then when you think about, outside, you got Kenny, but that's two foreigners. They're not going to do that in the Dome. You got Ibushi. His body's broken down. I don't think he'll ever work for New Japan ever again based on hurt feelings. And then that leaves you with Okada. So
and Jay White, but another foreigner.
And Jay White, another foreigner. To me, the only two big names that really make sense are Naito and Okada. If you're gonna draw money with Zack in the main event, you could do Shingo, but I feel like the Shingo match only makes sense if you really bolster the rest of that card with something super strong, and maybe Naito Hiromu is that answer. but I think we're either going to get Naito and Zack in a rematch where Naito gets the title back probably, or it's going to be Okada.
Yeah, I think if you're going with somebody that's on the roster, I would say Naito is probably the bet. But yeah, if they are going to open up and go to somebody outside, then Okada is probably your pick. Next question's here from Fecal Soup on Reddit. First off, and most importantly, happy to see that you guys are all doing okay after the hurricane. Thoughts on Naito's performance? There were a couple times where I bit on a near fall and thought he was going to win. Also, the latter half of this match was the best I've seen Naito this past year.
I thought Naito did really well, but I don't think the match was super demanding of him from a physicality standpoint because it's a Zack match. And you know, if we're just judging it based on did he not botch, then yeah, he looked good. He didn't botch once.
I think that also has to do with a lot with being in the ring with Zack, because Zack tends to dictate the pace. He tends to slow Naito down. He's one of those guys that you can rely upon to cover up, as it were, when there's like to fill in a gap when it's needed. So, but yeah, I enjoyed the match.
It was 100% structured as a Zack match. I mean, if you notice, they didn't even do that spot where they go to the outside and Naito runs the ropes and then does the the pose,
the tranquilo pose.
They didn't do that.
Do the combinación de Cabron. He doesn't do that one anymore either.
He didn't do it in the match at all. He did do the that pose, but he did it after a grappling exchange, and then and then Zack put him in an armbar off of it, which was pretty brilliant. But the match was structured as a Zack match. It was not structured like a Naito match.
Yeah, and like you said, Josh, if you're grading it off of like where there are no botches, then yeah, he looked good. Honestly, I thought the G1 match they had this year was a lot better than this match. Like this match was still very good, still a great match, but I think the G1 match was a great match. Like, go out of your way to watch that match compared to this match.
Oh, I loved this match. I'm like 4.5 on this one.
Yeah, I think I was like 4.5 on the G1 one. I don't know. I think I like the pace of the G1 match better, but also this match was more dramatic. It was more like of a story and dramatic here. His other question says, lastly, what are your thoughts on Umino getting booed? Do you think he'll shift more post-Stardust Genius Naito type character or stay as the dude he is now? If you could hear the boos in Ryogoku, I can't imagine the boos he would have gotten in Osaka.
I don't know what he does, but I think someone from creative, they need to take him under their wing and they need to do something one way or the other. They need to figure something out.
He needs to pick a personality. He needs to figure out who he is without being Tanahashi, Osprey, or Moxley. He needs his UK hair back. His hair is way better when he was in England. I don't know. His colorist keeps doing him dirty. His barber keeps doing him dirty. So you know what? And again, bring back the tights. I don't like the boot cut. It's just
that man jacked his whole look up. Yeah.
Where was this boy's mother? Who let him do this?
Yeah. I think there should be a character shift because unless you go the route of him just being like a ingenuous like babyface where like he knows he's booed, but he tries kind of like what Jericho's kind of doing right now, where like he knows he's getting booed, but he's still like acting like he's a babyface. Like maybe he could do that, but at this point, like there's no way that he can continue to like, be trying to hug and kiss babies and shake glow sticks if he's getting this reaction in Ryogoku. Like they need to pivot, and I don't know if it's Stardust Genius, but he needs to like either go away or he needs to turn heel and like do something completely different.
His entrance is way too long for a guy who loses this much. Tell me I'm wrong.
It's all part of the plan. You guys just need to give it some time.
Let it play out. Oh man. Lee Chang's Bay 2 has a few questions. Says, do you think the decision to take the title off Naito at KOPW instead of the main event of Wrestle Kingdom 19 was done because he just can't go at a grade 1 level anymore?
Wait, what?
Do you think the reason why they took the belt off of him here at KOPW instead of Wrestle Kingdom 19 is because he can't go at a grade 1 level anymore.
What would grade 1 have to do with Wrestle Kingdom?
I think he's just kind of using that as like, top tier, like main event level
level of performance.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's refreshing. I mean, I'm glad that we don't have to do the briefcase anymore. I mean, I do have a couple of those briefcase tote bags, but it's one of the I have 2 of them. But it's one of those things where it just like I liked that it was at a venue that meant something to the person who was winning the belt. I like that it was a place where Zack had history. I like that it was something different after the same pattern of the G1 winner like fighting their way all the way to the dome every single year. It was different. I don't think it's entirely, I don't want to say that, it's because Naito can't go anymore. I mean, if it's Naito acknowledging that he would rather, do what's best for the company and let Zack have the spotlight, I think it's actually somewhat of a more, I think it's more Naito understanding his limitations and doing what's best for the company, as opposed to them being like, bro, you can't go anymore. We're moving to the younger, better, faster guy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of facets to it, honestly. One of the negatives of it, I thought the crowd was good, and they were clearly behind Zack, and they wanted to see the title change, but this wasn't like a capacity crowd, and that was one of the one negatives here was like they did more for the G1 finals just a few months ago than for this show, which was kind of unfortunate because I would have liked to see a rowdier, bigger crowd. The moment was still special and it meant something, but it maybe didn't mean quite as much as, say, a Wrestle Kingdom win would have meant for Zack. At the same time, we didn't have to go through the whole rigmarole of having to go through the entirety of the rest of the year with Zack defending his number 1 title shot, as we've done for the better part of a decade. So it changes that aspect. The other thing, too, if Zack Naito hadn't wrestled I don't know what the real number is, but let's say a dozen times prior to this, then yeah, maybe you could have just ran the dome with that. But I don't feel like that match in and of itself would have been super successful as a major draw. Putting the title on Zack now, it does a couple things. One, it really legitimizes him and establishes him as a main event player. And whether the next match in the dome is against Zack or some other top end guy, he can carry his side of the bargain, whereas prior to this, if he was just the G1 winner, I don't know if people would have seen him as a legitimate threat to actually win in the Tokyo Dome. And in fact, history tells us he probably isn't going to win in the Tokyo Dome because he is a foreigner, and foreigners don't win in the Tokyo Dome. I think the last time it happened was Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
It's been over 20 something years, and it didn't happen with Kenny. And it didn't happen with Jay White, and it didn't happen with Will Ospreay. It's highly unlikely it's going to happen with Zack. So at least Zack gets the title run. He gets to go through a bunch of defenses and establish himself and maybe prove that he's a top line draw headlining the dome by the time we get there, and that match will actually have more meaning. And I feel like it's a better business decision long term than it would have been if we just had him carry a briefcase and then either win or lose against Naito.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is that they need to have a more organized queue of challengers, because this scram between the destruction in Kobe and then this wrap up, it almost like a lot of the talent that are coming out to the ring to challenge for the belt, they come off as almost desperate. They're so hell bent on getting that Tokyo Dome main event that yes, while there is story veins for all of them to tell that story, it's so disorganized that it doesn't look like it's getting the same reverence that it has in previous years, where it seemed more like systematic and orderly, that the people who'd come out would be like, it'd be one person, it'd be you go here, and then we'll figure it out. But between last month with Shingo and Oiwa coming out, and then this time where Umino shows up, and then Shingo comes the bad X that just keeps rolling around. He comes back around trying to get another go at it. It just comes off as kind of sloppy.
It wasn't originally, like you mentioned, there are story threads. Me and Jeremy have been talking about it. Like, they've laid out every title defense that Zach's going to have between now and the Tokyo Dome.
But it's the execution.
It's the
of
execution.
that. It bothers me.
Bringing all three of those guys out at the same time during his crowning moment, it detracted from it, and it gave me PTSD to Double Gold Dash and how flat that was.
Oh God, no, not again.
Yeah, especially with Shingo still as never champion.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Shingo's still never champion. I mean, if it had just been Sonata and they could put heat on that one match, let's focus, guys. One match at a time. Yeah. You got one event. Let's sell each and every one of these. Instead, you're doing a little bit here, a little bit. It's too much. And history has shown us that this wasn't an effective method in the past. It didn't work for Jay White when Jay White did this. And he had all of Hantai standing in the ring and he was on the outside, and it didn't work during Double Gold Dash. It's not a good, effective way to market the future. And all it tells me is Zach's going to beat all these guys. And then whoever it is at the Dome he's going to be facing is probably not any of them.
Yeah. And as far as like them putting the belt on Zach here instead of Wrestle Kingdom, I don't think that it has anything really to do with Naito's ability to go or not. Because at the end of the day, Naito is a draw. And so whether he's hobbling or not, if they need to go with Naito, they would go with Naito if that was what was best for business. I think clearly they have something else planned that they feel is bigger, and it still could be Naito. And
still might be Naito.
Still might be Naito.
I think it's not.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Josh, maybe they were like, hey, we want to give Zach his flowers. Let's give him a title run. We have a busy fall. He can handle the busy fall schedule. He can fly to the UK, US, Japan. Let's put him on all these shows. Zach is probably going to have like 3 or 4 defenses before January. So he's going to have a solid title run by the time he walks into the Dome. And then if it is Naito, then it works for Zach. He wins a G1. He wins a belt. He gets a good run. He's in the Tokyo Dome main event. He drops the belt.
And they never do it this way. Oh, go ahead, Karen.
Well, my thing was, when it comes to Naito, do you think that there would be the possibility, and this is me like putting my tinfoil hat on, that he could, not that they would do it, but have him challenge Shingo for the Never belt, take that belt off of Shingo, and then him versus Hiromu for the Never belt at the Dome, and then Hiromu gets the Never belt?
You could do that.
I mean, would that be like, because I know there's there's always the conversation, when are we getting that one match between Naito and Hiromu? And I'm just trying, because, you know, even if Naito weren't in the main event, I feel like a Naito versus Hiromu at the Dome, as whether it's in the middle of the card or even as a semi-main, it'd be enough to push a lot of people not to sell their tickets, if anything, to drive them to buy them.
I've been thinking about the same thing too. Just the one thing that throws a kink in that is Shingo challenging for the world title. Like, I don't know how we get to there with that belt being in the midst of, you know, Naito and Hiromu, if Shingo is also at the same time focused on the world belt.
Yeah. I just think it's weird that he would be going for, no, not weird, but if he were to lose the Never belt, then why would he go for the world title? Because he just lost the belt he already had.
It's convoluted. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like Naito and Hiromu doesn't need the Never title.
I don't think so either.
I think that's what you just slap special singles match on that and you put it semi-main event.
You're wrong, Jeremy. They're gonna get a special name for that match. You know what I'm talking about?
LIJ versus LIJ, Ingo Bernable versus Ingo Bernable or something.
It's gonna be something weird. Like, remember, like special, or what was it called? Handsome Battle.
Yeah,
it's gonna be some weird shit like that. They're gonna
you leave my handsome battles out of this.
They're gonna give them a weird name.
Yeah, you slap a special label on that. You make a semi-main event. It'll be fine. Then you can have another Never title match.
Double main evento, you know?
Yeah.
The one thing I was going to say, and we can move on after this, is, you know, they don't ever do it this way. When somebody gets their first title run, it's very, very rarely this late in the year heading into the Tokyo Dome. It's almost always in like February or April or June or July. They go into the end. Usually they get like one successful title defense and then drop the belt in short succession, or, you know, they have some G1 matches or like an anniversary show match that are big main events, but they're not actual title defenses. And that's like a tryout for them to kind of prove that they're able to go at the main event level, and then maybe later they get another run. That's not what they're doing here with Zack. He's getting the run late in the year, post G1, coming. They've never done this. They've never had someone win the G1. Or if they have, it hasn't been in the Wrestle Kingdom era where they win the G1, win the belt, defend it 3 times successfully in a quarter of a year. That's a heavy schedule for someone to defend the belt that many times against that many opponents and then go into the dome to defend it. Like, that's a really, really strong first like title reign, you know?
I mean,
to, like,
it also
establish
depends.
somebody.
It also depends on when they're going to have Zack resign his contract for the next year.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, there might be leverage there.
I mean, he does say that, you know, he intends on staying in Japan, that he's not going anywhere, but it's the, you know, they won't know until they got his Zack Sabre Jr. on that piece of paper saying, yes, I am renewing for another year. And that's usually between November and January.
Yeah, and that was part of the story of the match. Naito was saying in the promos and press conferences, he need to beat Zack, because if Zack wins,
to keep him,
he's going to take the belt and go to AEW. And so Zack post-match, he's like, you know, Naito, you don't have to worry. Like, I'm staying here in Japan with this title. So I know that's part of the story. And Zack talks about not wanting to be a millionaire, and he cares more about wrestling. So if he's true to his word,
I want to be a millionaire.
I want to be a millionaire.
I'll take the money. It's fine.
We're gonna see Karen on like a post show. She's like, I love the Young Bucks. I love Kenny Omega. I'm so happy here at AEW.
Then they'll be like, blink twice if you're in trouble. And I'm like,
Karen Peterson is all elite.
oh God, can you imagine? The world would burn.
But Lee Chang's Bay 2 also asks, what was more awkward, the Young Bucks getting no pop when they announced their return to New Japan, or White Meat Babyface Shota getting booed out of the building?
It is equal. I think it's more damning though for Umino than anything else, honestly.
I would lean towards that, but my thing is that at least Shota yielded some kind of reaction. I'm leaning towards the was it the reaction they wanted? Probably not, but it was something. It was not dead silence. Hear a pin drop, but
yeah,
I awkwardly laughed at both of them.
I lean more towards Shota. Like, when the Bucks thing happened, I was just like, damn, that sucks. But when Shota got booed, I was just like, ooh, it's not good.
The reason why for me is like maybe they did overestimate what they feel like the Young Bucks might still mean in Japan. And you know, there was a lot of negative sentiment the last couple of years that they were there, where they weren't doing the tours and they were only showing up for the big shows, and you know, they weren't working the tag leagues and they weren't working Super Juniors, and that became like a big talking point with Japanese fans. And then the way that everything went down with the AEW split, you know, for better or for worse, I think some of those negative, you know, feelings are still there probably. And so it makes sense to me why there is this lack of response. And then there's the other part of it where it's like, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They were always a junior tag team for the majority of their time there. Junior tag teams just don't really matter that much. I mean, like we said earlier, juniors are in some ways, you know, they can be big stars, but they're also pushed as juniors. You know, I mean, like, how much effect is a junior tag team, even if it's the most legendary one in the history of that company? How big is that going to be to the audience in 2024? It's been 6 years since they even worked there. I don't know how much of the audience even saw the Young Bucks in Japan. So it all makes sense to me. But the Shota Umino one, that's the one where you're like, that one didn't make that's a surprise.
Yeah. Like Karen mentioned, you know, they gave him the big long entrance. He's running through the crowd all the time, kissing babies, throwing out glow sticks. He's getting the push. But yeah, they don't let him win. And then, yeah, this is what you get. Oh, man. Discord Daddy says, KOPW has more angle heavy than typical pay-per-view. Should we see this type of booking more regularly on these kinds of cards?
Yeah, I think that we got away from it during the pandemic when it became an issue where we couldn't rely
Yeah, on
on
travel.
travel. We couldn't rely on who might or might not be available for a show based on quarantining, based on sickness, based on injury. And prior to that, we used to have more of this. And getting back to more of this is, the last show I can think of that felt like this was like, I don't know, remember that Dominion where like it was all Bullet Club and Jay White won the title and Juice came back and it was like all these big surprises. Like that felt like the last time where I was like, yeah, there's a lot going on here in the middle of the year.
Mhm.
That was several years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good feeling because it feels like there is actual consistent thought in the booking for everybody, like for multiple groups that isn't just you're gonna fight each other for the next month in 28 combinations of the same exact match. Like it felt like the booking mattered, the stories that were being told mattered more pre-pandemic. So if there's more of this where and it's done in an organized manner, not like the scrum at the very end, sure. That's what it needs. It needs to feel more cohesive, not just a bunch of house shows and woo, we have a pay-per-view.
Yeah, definitely agree with you guys, and definitely I love the booking of getting more angles and kind of heating up feuds for these upcoming shows, and I think that helps build programs, helps sell tickets, and I definitely think it's something they should get back to doing more of. Rambone says, after KOPW, how are you guys feeling about the overall state of NJPW, the build towards Wrestle Kingdom, and the anticipated future direction of the promotion? I feel like we are on an upward trajectory since New Japan Cup.
What I feel most positive about is let's get this schedule for this next tour out and then I'll give you my answer, because without that schedule, I'm sure that they're going to follow up on it well, but right now I don't know how that's going to play out. So they're probably waiting for the UK show to do it though.
Yeah, the one thing I would have added to this show is that with Super Junior Tag League, like the week after they come back from the UK, so like next week, I would have wanted a block reveal or at least announcing who's participating. Like hype up Super Junior Tag League
Yeah.
because it's happening. Not just Lek is sponsoring World Tag League in like late November. Talk about the series that's starting next week. Because a lot of what's going to happen at Royal Quest is probably by and large not going to impact what happens in Super Junior Tag League, other than maybe a junior tag league from Rev Pro UK comes over, or a junior tag team comes over. That's about it. So why not, instead of just having like we were talking about the press conference, if Zach's going to have a press conference by the time this episode airs, why do it, like why announce all the blocks and all the participants in a press conference? Why isn't there, they just throw a video package up of like the big block reveal or the big like participant reveal?
Yeah, I think they could definitely, again, it's back to the whole junior issue. They definitely could do more to build this tournament up.
Let me book the juniors. Give me the juniors.
Overall, I think New Japan is in a good state, but I do think there has been a problem with following up on the momentum.
Yep.
Like Josh was saying, it's like, yeah, we had this, we got all these title matches coming up. There's a lot of angles they shot. We got some directions on what's coming up next, but we have the next tour is the Road to Power Struggle / Super Junior Tag League, and the focus is going to be on that Junior Tag League tournament, and some of these stories might not be followed up on until we get to Power Struggle. And so you might lose some momentum until we get to Power Struggle, and then there's Fighting Spirit Unleashed, and then there's Strong Style Evolve, and then there's World Tag League. So there's all these stuff that is happening that they need to kind of keep the momentum flowing instead of having this kind of ebb and flow. And I know it's hard because they're more of a tour base. It's not like a weekly TV show, and this is a Junior Tag League tour, so they gotta do it. And also there'll be like undercard multi-man stuff, but it's gonna lose some of the steam from this show. Yeah, but overall, I think the company's in a better spot, and I do think that they're laying the groundwork for some cool things to come.
Well, that is going to do it for our review and coverage of King of Pro Wrestling. This coming week, we have New Japan Royal Quest 4. I'm just going to briefly roll through the entirety of the card, and then you guys can kind of give your overall thoughts. We don't need to necessarily do like a match by match preview or anything like that. I'm feeling. First match of the night, we got Azumi and Danny Luna versus Kanji and Mina Shirakawa. We have Michael Oku versus Kosi Fujita, singles action. Third match of the night, Drilla Maloney versus Yota Tsuji. Fourth match of the night, Shota Umino versus Callum Newman. Your semi-main event, the NJPW Strong Openweight Tag Team title is on the line as TMDK defends against Tanahashi and Ishii. And then your main event, the IWGP World Heavyweight title is on the line as Zack Sabre Jr. defends against Sonata. So overall, pretty decent little card. Not earth-shattering, but it looks pretty good to me. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I think
my
it looks
only
good.
thought. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's all right. No, so I think it looks good. I was gonna say just real quickly. I don't think this is the final card since there's only 6 matches. There probably will be some more things announced. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I thought it might be one of those like little 2-hour shows like the kinds we get in the US sometimes.
I'm not sure.
You say that, and they're going to tack on like 6 other matches tomorrow when they announce the rest of the card.
Yeah,
I was trying to see if Stardom was running a show this weekend because my one of my biggest beefs is that now that Stardom falls under the umbrella of New Japan, they have 2 women's championships and nobody's defending a title on this show. And yeah, Stardom is running a show in Shizuoka, so don't expect Mayu Iwatani or Mercedes Moné to be rocking up in London on Sunday.
I don't expect Mercedes to work any New Japan shows.
She's on Strong Style Evolved.
Yep. She's on the poster, so
yeah, I guess those ones, but I almost feel like they're not real. I meant like the real New Japan shows. You know what I mean? The ones that happen in Japan and abroad, not the ones that you can just like, that are in Lowell.
Hey, the Lowell Auditorium is a very nice building. Very scenic. But I mean, it's a nice little card, but I don't know. I'm kind of hoping they added maybe 1 or 2 other matches on here just to beef it out just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm
was
sure.
Was Naito announced for this show or not?
I think he was.
I mean, he probably was before he got that ass whoop.
Yeah, I think there'll be more additions for this. I have a hard time seeing them just throw out a 6-match card for the UK. I think they'll probably at least add 2 to the main card, and they'll probably do a pre-show as well. Also, there's other Rev Pro guys I'm sure that they wouldn't mind using as well, and they'll probably do like a Naito and Hiromu and Bushi multi-man against somebody and do some other stuff. But I think overall, interesting card. Interesting that Michael Oku is facing a TMDK member. I know there's history of him and Zack. This could maybe lead to something with him and Zack in the future. Drilla Jr. wrestling heavyweight Tsuji is very interesting. I know people are kind of on heavyweight watch for Drilla Maloney.
I think Drilla's beaten Tsuji twice when Tsuji was on excursion. So this is his time to get his licks back.
Yeah. And Newman and Umino has been interesting. Newman in the build's been saying, Umino does more Ospreay stuff than I do.
Yeah, I saw that.
So we'll see what happens there. TMDK against Ishii and Tanahashi. I think they'll probably
Let's get those belts split, baby. Title run for the Ace and the Stone Pitbull. Let's go.
Hey, you said they said they wanted to see a title run for the Ace. This is good. Ishii can do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah. And then the main event, also, I think Zack will retain and defeat Sonata in a great match. They're great opponents for each other and usually have great matches.
Just gonna throw this out there. Sonata was looking a little heelish when he came out that night earlier today. He had the glasses on, very stoic. I know he's always stoic, but he wasn't really playing games or anything like that. So, you just never know. Keep an eye out on this one.
Yeah.
He was very, very sharply dressed, and I did appreciate his use of English and the fact that Zack was like, your English is really good because, as a foreigner in Japan, you usually get told a lot by other Japanese people, oh, your Japanese is really good. So the fact that he turned it around on Sonata, it made me chuckle a little bit.
Yeah.
And when is the show airing? Or how can we watch this? 'Cause I haven't even looked.
I believe it's on New Japan World, but it starts like 12:30 our time.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
Yeah, I don't think it's an extra pay-per-view.
Oh,
thing.
thank God.
I know, right?
But I could be wrong. But yeah, I think it'll be up on New Japan World.
Yeah, the teaser's already up on New Japan World, and it does not say anything about a pay-per-view.
Perfect.
12:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, that is the preview for as of now. And, we'll be back next week to review that show more in full. Let's jump into the news very briefly, wrap up the show. So, just days after Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty next January, NJPW will make its return to San Jose, California. The promotion announced today that Battle in the Valley 2025 will be held at the San Jose Civic on Saturday, January 11th. Names confirmed for the show: Tetsuya Naito, Gabe Kidd, Mercedes Moné, Shingo Takagi, Zack Sabre Jr., Konosuke Takeshita, and Hechicero. That's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah, so that's two different shows. The first announcement was for Battle of Valley. The second one's for Strong Style Evolved.
Oh, my bad. Again, I'm tired. Gabe Kidd did retain his NJPW Strong Openweight title last week against Anthony Henry on ROH TV. Lastly, NJPW's Tamashii Oceania Cup Finals will take place on November 15th. The Rogue Army partners Bad Luck Fale and Jack Bonza will collide, while Jake Taylor and Punch Drunk Istria will face off in the semifinals at the Menage Arts Center, with the winners facing off in the tournament finals in that night's main event. So hopefully we get Jake Taylor versus Jack Bonza. I don't know.
Yeah, keep Fale out of the finals there. Well, that's it for the news. There were some questions that came in on Reddit as we were recording. You want me to run through those, or?
Yeah, we're still under time. We can go through those real quick and then get out of here.
All right, let me pull this up. So Hawaiian Punch BV, do you think Master Wato came back with Junior Ace hair?
I think everyone's feeling that way.
Yeah, I was digging the jet black hair.
It was the suit, the whole ensemble.
Yeah, he looked like a star for the first time.
Yes,
ever.
ever.
And he wasn't doing this the whole time. Came out in the suit, black hair, whooped on Kanemaru, whooped on Sho, and looked good. Let's see. Death Triangle 720. Was this card what Dominion should have been this year?
Yeah, probably. It was a better show than Dominion.
Yeah, a lot more angles, a lot more building towards the future. He also asked, with Naito no longer champion, how do you think they'll go about him versus Hiromu?
I don't know. What do you guys think? That's a tough one.
Well, if they don't need a title, they could just be like, bro, let's have a match. I feel like the match is just kind of sitting there. My only concern is that, or not concern, but the only other angle I could think that would drive it, if it doesn't involve a title, is either Naito gets kicked out of LIJ, or Naito also announces that he's going to retire.
Yeah, I think that I can just see it kind of being a challenge situation, or a story of Naito's like, how do I get to the Tokyo Dome? And it's this thing of Hiromu's kind of keeps asking him, and finally it kind of accepts Hiromu's challenge, if that's the route that they're going to go. They could go the whole never title route and have Naito get, because Shingo also wants to face Naito, so you could have Naito beat Shingo, power struggle, and then Hiromu challenges Naito. That's one way you can get there, but I don't think you need the never title for that match.
Yeah, I think those October, November backstage comments when it comes to those two guys is going to be a bit more telling than, normal. And, probably expect some sort of, if we're getting that match, it's got to be solidified, I would assume, by the end of Power Struggle. So, be on angle alert for that show.
Yeah. With the crowd booing Shota Umino, do you think it's time the company turns him heel, or wait till after Wrestle Kingdom 19 to pull the trigger?
He needs to go to Mexico.
He needs a makeover, and if he's going heel, then give me back Strong Style Ren Narita. It needs to be balanced in the universe. If you're taking one, give me back one of the other ones.
Yeah, I definitely think there needs to be some kind of a shift with him. We mentioned about earlier. With the
paradigm shift.
Yes. Yeah, maybe he can join Mox's new cult and start choking people with plastic bags. He also asked, with the Jet Setters now the champions, do you think the War Dogs will win the tag league, or will we have more teams involved in the Dome match? Having a 4-way sprint in the Dome would be a great on the card.
War Dogs would be my favorite to win right now, just without knowing who else is going to be in it.
Yeah, I think both could happen. I think War Dogs could win, and they still end up having a 4. We've seen that in the past. Them still do a 4-way match in the Dome. Dark Soldier says Shota just got booed. Is that a cause for concern?
Big
for
time.
him, maybe.
Yes.
For him, definitely.
Then he says, think we're getting a title unification between Zack and Shingo. It wouldn't feel out of the realm of a possibility for New Japan throwing away a title, then only to create a new title after that's exactly like the one they defunct.
If they were going to unite a title, I think it would be the New Japan Strong Openweight and the Never Openweight.
I would love that. We don't need those titles.
I mean, and they don't need the tag titles either. Those could be merged together as well.
It would be nice to just have an IWGP Openweight title, you know?
Yeah, they should merge the Never, the Strong, and KOPW, and it should become the IWGP Openweight title.
Boom.
And what about the TV title?
Boom.
I like having the TV title around.
I like the TV title because it's 15 minutes. It serves its purpose.
Yeah.
Just put it on people who matter. People are going to give me good matches in 15 minutes. I don't want Ren Narita posturing with a push-up bar for 15 minutes.
I don't need a triple threat match ever that has 15-minute time limit. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Then his last question is, Tana is retiring, and like everyone, I'm sad. Do you plan on doing for a future podcast a best of Tanahashi to honor him?
How long is that project going to be?
Every single month.
This man's got, I checked today, he's got 166 4-star better rated. Actually, according to Dave, it's more. It's like 170 something, but like according to the cage matchers, he's got like 166 4-star rated matches or better. So how are we going to tackle that project? You know what I'm saying?
A monthly mixtape for your Patreon.
Too much. I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll also do something revolving around his retirement, but I don't know what that would look like. But yeah, there's a lot that we could do about the Ace. Let's see, DeFranco 720. Do you think Power Struggle will be when they announce most of the card for the Tokyo Dome?
That's a good question. I don't know. When do they usually do that?
Well, I mean,
it's always post Power Struggle.
It's after Power Struggle, but also because there's World Tag League, it tends to be like between World Tag League and the Road to Tokyo Dome shows that are like the second to last week in December.
Wait, isn't World Tag League, or I'm sorry. Okay, I see what you're saying. I'm tired.
You're fine. Stop apologizing. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's not an apology. It's a statement of fact. I apologize for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I would think, yeah, post Power Struggle will be where there'll be some angles there to set up some stuff. They've also been teasing that since Strong Style Evolve is happening right before Tokyo Dome, that they're going to do a lot of angles there as well.
And you can't forget Historic Crossover. That's going to be rife with angles that are super meaningful for the Tokyo Dome. You just know it.
Great Okan versus Mayu, yeah.
Yeah. They might just be sending the KOPW over to Stardom, just get rid of it.
Yep. Stardom has too many belts. Stardom needs to get rid of some belts.
We know that, but they were probably just like, let's park it over there for a while to see how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they did with the IWGP. They just parked it on Mayu for the last year.
Yeah. Let's see. A question for Karen. As great as the show is, what do you feel would be a strong main event for Wrestle Kingdom 19?
Zack versus Okada.
Yeah.
That I would have said Zack versus Shibata or Taichi, but since if Josh's hypothesis about the unproved main eventer goes, then neither of those could happen.
I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. They've only done it 3 times. The first Tokyo Dome match, obviously there couldn't have been headliners prior to that.
Yeah.
It was Inoki in a MMA match against Shota Chichovili. I forget his name. The second time was Ric Flair versus Fujinami for the NWA WCW titles. And then in 1995, they had Muto and Takada wrestle. That's the last time.
Since Shibata got signed with AEW, he hasn't done anything for New Japan, right? I know he did the one match with Suzuki, but that was for something else.
Yeah.
For
New Japan doesn't want to touch him.
They won't. Yeah. He wrestled that match at the Inoki show against Tom Lawler, and he was in town, and they didn't even bring him in for the Tokyo Dome that year, and he was still under contract and everything.
Okay.
The only other match that you could maybe kind of point to as being another instance where they used 2 unproven Tokyo Dome draws would have been Kojima versus Tenzan. But that one's iffy because they both had been in main events in the Dome, but they were tag team matches. So if you turn it into only singles matches, then that's a 4th time. But realistically, the last time they had 2 guys who had never main evented the Dome go head to head was Muto versus Takada. Probably the biggest match in Puroresu in the 90s, period, between the 2 biggest stars. They don't do it. Every single other match since then, they have one guy somewhere in that main event that has headlined a Dome before because it just makes perfect business sense. Why would you take a chance putting 2 guys who have never headlined your biggest show of the year in there?
Yeah.
Unless they are like astronomical draws, like a Muto and a Takada. They don't have that.
Yeah.
As much, for instance, would I love to see Zack and Taichi in the Dome, as meaningful and story-driven as that, and how good the match would be? But do I think that's going to sell the Tokyo Dome the way that they want it to? I don't think it would.
Yeah. He also asked, with only 2 months left for New Japan, what should they avoid in that remainder of the time in the build to Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty?
Shota Umino.
I think they need to kind of figure out what they're doing with these young guys.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them. They brought them all back at the same time, and then they didn't really suss out exactly what they want to do with all those guys.
Yeah. You got Tsuji, Oiwa, Umino, Narita, Umaru's hurt. Yeah, Fujita. Like, all those guys should be in prominent spots on either one of those shows.
And you're not even including the white guys.
Yeah. You got all the War Dogs.
Robbie.
Yeah.
What's his face? Oleg Bolton.
Yeah.
Gabe Kidd. They got a bunch of young dudes that are all back. They need to figure out what they're doing. They don't have it fully fleshed out, figured out, and we need to get to where we need to get for that show.
Yeah. Do you feel like Oiwa did exactly what he needed to do in his match against Shingo?
That was a question I was going to ask you guys. Like, did you feel like he came across as in my opinion, the last time that any of these guys returned and really felt like they delivered the goods day one was Tsuji against Sonata. This obviously was not like a main event, but what did you guys feel like, with Oiwa being put in the spot?
I think that the hard part is that when it came to Tsuji, like I felt like Sonata gave him a little more in the match. I feel like Shingo was wrestling a standard Shingo never open weight match where he's used to working with the guys like Ishii and Goto and stuff like that, where it's like he knows that they are able to handle the pressure of it. And I'm not saying that Oiwa can't handle the pressure, but I feel like he didn't give Oiwa too much in the match with the way he was kicking out so quickly on everything, kind of dominating the match at times.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Oiwa looked good, but I didn't leave this match being like, all right, for sure, Oiwa is the man. Yeah. He can carry New Japan. He can be a never champion. He can do all this stuff. Like, it was a very good match. He hung with Shingo, but it was not the Tsuji match where afterward I'm like, strap Tsuji up, like put the belt, like main event everything, give him everything. I didn't feel that way coming out of this match.
Gotcha.
He also asked, with Oiwa not there at the end, do you think down the line we would see Oiwa turn on TMDK and create his own group?
Well, he did come out during the post-match press conference celebration, and he was selling his beatdown from Shingo. So I didn't see the Shingo match, but he was still selling the after effects, like rubbing his jaw and stuff. So I think the implication was that he didn't have enough time between losing that match to, recollect himself is probably what they were trying to do there.
Yeah, the man got pump and bombered. He got Last of the Dragon. So yeah, makes sense.
He'd more likely be rocking up a no and picking a fight with Kiyomiya than like turning on TMDK just yet.
Then last question here, a question to Karen. As great as the show was, it is a bit disappointing that with all the buzz around the show, attendance-wise, it didn't hit the level compared. Is it disappointing that it didn't hit the level of a G1 or Dominion?
I feel like the shows in the fall, they have a high expectation, but it's, it's still, I mean, even now, I still have a bit of G1 exhaustion. So I as much as I would love to say yes, every show that they have in Ryogoku or every one of their big quarterly big shows should be on that level as a Dominion or a G1 final. I don't think that's necessarily sustainable, especially when they have as many, like the match selection that they had on the card was great, but a lot of it was they do have a lot of people that are still out injured. I enjoyed it. It was a very enjoyable card. Do I wish it had, a lot more ooh and ah and pomp and circumstance? Yes, but I feel like that's not necessarily speaking just from the card. The overall presentation could have been a bit more flashy. They could have done stuff like not just like I said earlier, not just, announcing the sponsor for World Tag League, but give me something more. There's no big, we were talking off air is that, Yo did a soft return on the show as well by running into the venue as soon as they opened the doors and did like a little guerrilla stream. But like a lot of, people who care about the juniors, they were kind of disappointed that was the way they went with him instead of getting the same reception that Watto got, where it was this whole big welcome back, makeover, all the good things. He just showed up in his same usual costume doing silliness on the YouTube. So it's could they have done more? I think if they did more, it would have had to have been from a presentation standpoint, not necessarily from a match quality standpoint.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it for the questions. Josh, I did not watch the recommended match of the week. Did you watch it?
We had a hurricane. We did not watch. There were a couple quick things though that I wanted to. Oh, okay. So two things. I know this is off topic, but Dimitri Bivol.
Oh yeah,
was robbed.
There was a question. I missed that Hawaiian Punch.
Oh, you missed it. Okay, I was gonna say I know my man Hawaiian Punch had to have sent me in something about that fight.
Yeah, either thoughts on Beterbiev versus Bivol. How did you score the fight? How do you think a rematch would go?
I didn't score the fight in real time, but it got to the point down the stretch where I felt pretty firmly that Beterbiev needed a knockout going down into the championship rounds to win the fight, and he fought like a dude that thought that he needed the knockout to win, and he got close. I mean, he didn't hurt him, but he was definitely hurting Bivol down the stretch. Maybe if this was a 15-round fight, we're talking about a totally different story altogether, because I don't know if Bevel could have gone 15 with Arthur. But I thought Bevel won the fight. I thought that he dictated the pace. He made him miss. He landed more. And I felt like he hit him with the cleaner, better shots. And I felt like he was the guy that, Bevel or better BF did come forward, but it has to be effective aggressiveness. And it's not effective if you're missing 75% of your shots and the other guy is, 40, 50% accurate, landing the same amount of shots as you. Like, I thought Bevel won that fight. I thought that the judging was atrocious, and I thought it was an embarrassment, to be honest with you. This happened recently when Devin Haney got the victory over Lomachenko. I felt like that was wrong, and I feel like this is wrong. And the judging in boxing is really shady. And I think it's interesting that the money line was on Bevel, and then he loses the decision in Saudi. So
sounds like they need a committee.
Boxing needs something. I don't know. I thought Bevel won that fight. I thought it was pretty clear. One last question I had for you guys. So this past week we had family members over, and Megan, my girlfriend's brother was with us, and he's a pretty big wrestling fan. Not like crazy like we are, but he's a big wrestling fan. And I showed him some New Japan, and we were talking wrestling, and he was like, "Who do you think is like the best guy right now in like these different companies?" And I was like, "Well, WWE, I would say like probably Walter's like the best guy they have." And I was like, it's tough in AEW. They got a lot of talent, but it's probably still Will Ospreay. And he's like, "Who's like the best guy in New Japan right now?" And I was really torn. And I was like, I'm not. And then I started thinking about it more, and I was like, is it Shingo or is it Zack? Because I feel like it's got to be one of those two guys probably right now.
Yeah, it's honestly, I think a coin toss between those two guys for me. I think also this year people will probably lean more Zack just from the kayfabe.
I would take Zack right now.
Yeah.
I think Zack might be. Go ahead, Karen.
That would be my vote. Is Zack. I mean, Shingo has the charisma and the consistent work rate, but I think if he's not everybody's cup of tea personality wise when it comes to people who enjoy watching wrestling. So I feel like if he wanted a gateway wrestler into New Japan, Zack would be a good place to start.
It's just kind of crazy if you think about it. If the three best guys and the three biggest, and then I don't know. I don't watch enough CMLL to tell you who's the best guy. I feel like it's probably Hechicero, but I don't really know. But like, if the three best guys in the three biggest companies in the world are all, UK, European, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. UK style. All right. Well, Karen, thank you for joining us this week. Go ahead and get your plugs in. Tell listeners where they can follow you online.
All right. So for those who want to follow my wrestling coverage, I'm over at postwrestling.com. I do the New Japan reviews. So I will also be reviewing Royal Quest on Sunday. I do a monthly column called Dream Slam Monthly, which comes out on the last Saturday every month. At the first weekend of every month, I do Post Pro-Res with WH Park, where we talk about the entire Japanese wrestling scene. And then for those who are curious about what heel Karen would look like, if you go to Post's YouTube tomorrow, or probably by the time this is live, I have reviewed Queen of the Villains with my friend JP Houlihan from Grapple over in the UK. And yes, you do get goth girlfriend Karen. She's wearing black lipstick and dark eyeliner. It's Halloween. It's October. It's fine. But we talk more about the themes, the history and times, and that aspect of the series as opposed to an episode by episode breakdown. But we do parse fact and fiction, what it was like in the 80s, because I was like 5. So it's about 2 hours long, but it's a really good watch. And it's the first time I've navigated a show or hosted a show for Post. So I'm kind of proud of it. And a lot of research went into it. And then for those who are on the Post Wrestling Cafe, I'm also going to be on this week's MCU Later reviewing one episode of Agatha All Along. on November 2nd, I don't know if people know about this, but there is a day on Twitch called Extra Life Day. It helps to raise money for children's charities throughout the country. I will be live streaming for several blocks of time on that day to raise money for Orlando Health's Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children. So if you have time to open your hearts and wallets, or at least jump by and say hi in the chat, that's what I will be doing. And I'll have that link when I retweet this episode for everyone. And then, if you want to help me get to the Tokyo Dome to see Tanahashi on January 4th, 2026, go to chopped-tees.com/Karen-Peterson and buy some Empress merch. It's cozy season. There's lots of long sleeve options.
Yeah, Chopped Tees is a great place to go to get you some Karen merch and also get you some Keeping It Strong Style merch. I think, get you a Tanahashi hoodie, get you a Karen shirt, nice little mix and match combo. Chopped-tees.com. Check out all the great merch that's over there. Well, that's going to wrap things up for us this week. Next week, we'll be back to...
Do you guys have a favorite horror movie before we head out? It's spooky season, and I've never asked either of you.
I'm a real chicken shit when it comes to horror, but to this day, I cannot walk past a storm drain when it's raining and not think of the movie It. The original one that has, yes, the Tim Curry one that caused me to lose a lot of sleep as a child. That is, I force myself to watch it just because it scares the ever-loving you-know-what out of me. And that and Pet Sematary, the original Pet Sematary by Stephen King.
Yeah, I'm not a huge horror guy, so I don't really...
You don't have one, Jeremy? One? It doesn't have to be like scary horror. It could be any horror.
The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I love
Nightmare
that
Before Christmas is like one of Jeremy's favorite movies.
It's a Christmas movie, though.
It's both.
It is both.
I don't know. I gotta think about it. Nothing's popping in my head right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All right. So next we'll be back to review Royal Quest. Remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. You also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On X, follow us at KI Strong Style, at Socialsuplex, and at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Socialsuplex and the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy, just Keeping It Strong Style. On YouTube, we're at Social Suplex. Join our Social Suplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com. And make sure you check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. Imps WWE Adventure with The Implications, Matthew Mayer. Wrestling Art with Chris Things. Tunnel Talk with Ali, Ann, and Leah. And the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we'll catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.